die and they get replaced. When they get replaced, I think it is up to the commission to decide if they wanted to restart the 2-year period, but I've found that sometimes doesn't seem very fair. If
Yeah.
the applicant is putting in a good faith effort to replace dead shrubs or trees, I found that usually commissioners are willing to
Yeah.
kind of let the time period be the 2 years at the start if they're making a good faith effort.
That makes sense.
But it's
And
discretionary.
yeah, and we can determine that, how we feel about that when the time comes for the final full CO.
But I
COC.
guess the point is a recommendation of the commission that the owner of the property take action to mediate and maybe repair the issues that we've observed, so that a year from now, it'll be easy for us to pass, compliance.
So is there some note in a partial COC other than to say, well, it would explain what's excluded, right?
Yes, it would lay it all out. And I think I will mention, and Nathaniel can correct me here if I'm understanding it correctly, but I think the reason for the partial request is to kind of get the developer off the hook. So that means, if the plantings had to be replaced in the springtime, he wouldn't be responsible. Instead, it'd be on the property owner. So it's not like no one would be responsible and we wouldn't be able to find anyone. It's just that instead of the builder, it would now be the property owner.
Seems to me that that's reasonable.
Yeah, George, do you mind if I add to that too? So in addition to that, the order conditions also instructs the applicant to apply for the certificate of compliance when the project is over. So that's what we're doing. So it's condition 64, upon completion of the project and prior to the expiration of this order, the applicant / owner shall submit a request for certificate of compliance to the commission. So the work is done, and as we're instructed to do in the order, this is why we're applying for the COC, because we've finished the work. And like Megan said, there's a significant difference between building a house and a septic system and 2 crossings versus maintaining the mitigation plants. So
Agreed.
the purpose of the partial is to make sure that the bulk of the work, which is the crossings and the septic system and the house and the grading, has been done substantially, and the requesting a partial is the tool with which we're able to get the assurance that all the major components of the work has been done. That's the reason for us requesting it.
Understood. So
Yeah,
I guess
thank
the question is, if we grant this partial, do we need to explain to the homeowner that there are mitigation issues that need to be confirmed a year from now? Otherwise, there are going to be some issues that will have to take place. And I don't know who would answer that. Is that Sylvia? Is that something to do?
We know one of the trees is dead. So I know we had another situation really probably about 3 years ago where there were some plantings and the people were moving, and but their 2 years wasn't up yet. They did not get their certificate of compliance, but what the commission allowed was to have the owners provide dated photographs in that extra year, and then they got their certificate of compliance.
The original owners got the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So George, I can just say, if Sylvia's saying we haven't done partials in 25 years, and people look up partials through the registry of deeds and think that they're all set, what is our reasoning? I understand the property owner or the seller wants this, but to what advantage is it for us? I don't really see one.
I don't either.
So I guess what the question is, what's the mechanism to urge the homeowner who's now on the hook for this to sort of complete the project, if you will?
It's not
Well,
the
actually,
builder, I think.
Sorry, one question, Milton.
No, it's not the builder.
The homeowner is not on the hook yet because we haven't given the,
Right.
certificate to the engineers and the people that actually did it.
Right, but if we issue a partial, is there a mechanism to persuade the homeowner to complete the replication?
I think so. I mean, people might look in the registry of deeds and think that there's a full COC when they see a partial, but the fact of the matter is that there isn't a full COC, there's just a partial. So, to my knowledge, I that doesn't clear the yeah, it doesn't clear the OOC unless there's a full. It just appears like there is, but there isn't actually. So you still have some level. I mean, I would think there's a reason why you're allowed to issue a partial. But like I said, I don't think it should be used all the time. Definitely in certain situations, but I mean, it exists for a reason, and I think part of the reason, if you think about why it exists, is probably because of situations similar to this or other situations where, yeah, part of the project is done and you don't want to hold up the COC forever. So
Right, so issuing a partial, I guess the question is there a way for us to issue the partial and um, uh, make it incumbent upon the homeowner to wrap up?
Right. Do the remediation. Yes.
But
Well,
why,
right.
why do that when really the builder's on the hook? Why are we letting the builder off the hook?
Well,
Right,
because the builder's done most, 90 something percent of the plan, and someone new has moved in. And between the two of them, they appear to be willing to transfer the obligation,
Responsibility. Yeah.
But
yeah,
let
the
me just
responsibility
say
of the
that-
homeowner. But how do we hold the homeowner's feet to the fire in that case is my question.
yeah.
So can I just say that if the OOC doesn't get completed, basically that homeowner can coast along until they want to refinance or sell. So I think you keep the builder's feet to the fire.
and it's on town conservation land that the issue is.
And we brought it up, Melissa, you weren't with us yet, but as soon as those trees got cut down, we were really unhappy, and they could have planted the trees the next day. I'm really sorry I did that, but they didn't. And I think that, especially in this case where we had such a difficult relationship with the builder, I would be totally against providing a partial. I wouldn't vote for it.
Well, that kind of seals the deal here because we only have 4 people, and if you're not going to vote for it, it's not going to move forward. So the question is,
No,
what
actually-
do we do in the
Bill either.
meantime?
No, that's not true, George, I don't think, but isn't it? I mean, a 3-1 vote would still pass, right?
No, it needs a quorum.
Oh, you need 4? Okay,
I think that's true. Thank you, Sylvia.
got it. Thank you, Sylvia.
It sounds like Sylvia's not, if she didn't approve these in the last 25 years, it doesn't sound like you're thrilled right now to just run this up the flagpole. Sylvia, am I wrong?
You're right.
So it would be 2-2, maybe.
Well, I don't know how, yeah.
So we have the
I'm wrestling with
applicant.
it.
So
The applicant is available to, or Nathaniel, do you want to provide more?
I guess
information?
I would ask then, is there anything that we can receive that is a statement that the work has been completed correctly? If you're not willing to issue a partial, would you be willing to agree that, like I said, like what the applicant is seeking is confirmation that the bulk of the project, which is the house construction and the septic system and the 2 crossings and the grading and the establishment of the general vegetative cover and whatnot, we would, they would like to know that it has been completed effectively and completely, that there is not an issue with the culvert or the setbacks to the house or the landscaping or anything like that. If you're not going to vote for a partial, is there any mechanism? That's the only one that I'm aware of. Is there anything you'd be willing to do? Would you be willing to authorize town staff to sign off on a memo that the items of the project, separate from the plantings, are complete? That's really what we're looking for. And I feel like this is something that we're kind of highlighting with our very particular request for specifically a partial, but we are also only following what the order condition says. It states that you complete the project and then you request your COC. I mean, a lot of times you leave the siltation controls up when that happens because you want to make sure everything's done. In other scenarios, you know, you would leave the erosion control up in case you have to go get back in there and do something else. When you're done with the work, even if you had plants that had to survive, you need, I imagine most people, even outside of this case, would want some kind of acknowledgement that the bulk of the work, that the work that you would have to hire someone and bring someone onto your site for has been done. So you know you don't have to do that again, because of the difference between that and the vegetation and the trees and things of that nature. Those are things that a homeowner can take care of themselves, even in other situations. Fixing a culvert, a house setback, things of that nature are not things a homeowner can do themselves. They would need to engage other people, and it's a bigger project. So that is the assurance that we want, and it's not only for the applicant, it is also for the homeowner. Like I said, there's a big difference between the homeowner maintaining vegetation, replacing required plants, etc., and not have it hanging over their heads whether or not they think, am I going to have to get somebody in here to regrade, to do extensive vegetative cover fix, or to fix the culvert if it's not right or something like that. Like, technically, we don't know if the culvert was built correctly or a bridge or things of that nature. I know I'm rambling on a little bit at this point, but in summary, that is the request, that something be issued that affirms that the bulk of the work and the items and the big construction portions of this project have been done correctly. So thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Would you please write all that down? Oh, no, sorry, never mind.
I will. I'm going to watch the recording while I do it, though.
No, I mean, you made a good case, and I understand the rationale. The question is, how do we ensure that all of the requirements for that particular piece of property will be met in whatever time frame that is? And I look to more experienced commissioners here to say, you know, what are we trying to do here? What
So George,
is there?
can I remind you?
Sylvia has her hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Sylvia. I'm sure she'll say.
I was going to say, I was asked to do that once, years ago, to provide a letter that indicated that the components were correct, but there was something else that needed to be done and it was not qualified for a COC, but it provided the applicant and the homeowner with a document that was something that they could have in their files. You might put a timeline on getting back with the with an understanding of the trees being in better shape and maybe one of them or more replaced and doing well, with photographs or something like that to come back.
So they need to pass inspection in a year from now.
Yeah, yeah.
So George, I just want to mention, because it might have been before you were on the board, but we had a number of violations and enforcement orders and issues and resubmissions of NOIs on this property. So the whole thing was messy. So I would rather hold these people accountable, the builder, until the moment it's all completed. I don't see any reason to make some special exception on this property.
And it doesn't sound like it's a very expensive issue because they have all done the work and I mean, in general. So it's just a matter of waiting for a sign off within a year to make sure that the final requirements are done.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a holdback or something and they're, that's what they're trying to relieve, but that's not the Wetlands Protection Act.
Agreed.
Is the lack of would the lack of a partial COC adversely affect the new owner or just the developer?
I'm not sure we can answer that, but
Well, the lack of a COC means that a new owner can't refinance and can't sell. If that's your question.
well,
But the reason Nathaniel, I think, is asking for partial COC is on behalf of the developer, right? It's not
Yes,
an issue for the owner.
this has been a very troublesome lot.
it still is. So is this something that we should go to town council about to take a look, give them an opinion?
Oh,
No, because it's
No,
vanilla.
I don't think so.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm new at this job. So if it makes no
I
sense, just
think
tell me,
Melissa can
that's
make a
fine.
motion. If no one seconds her motion, then it's tabled and we move on. Because we're spending time on this.
But the
is
question is, what's the motion?
to issue a partial COC.
With no conditions?
Well,
I mean, they haven't met the
Well-
requirement that we've been discussing, so that's
It
true.
will, it sounds like most people don't want to issue the partial, so maybe the better motion, if you want to deny it, then I just send a letter detailing why it's denied, that we have to wait for the 2-year monitoring period to elapse.
successfully. With
Yeah.
living.
Yes,
Mhm.
So I make a motion that we deny the partial COC and wait for the time period to run out, and hopefully between now and then the applicant will get back to us with whatever mediation they're going to do to correct things.
can I get a second?
Second,
Sylvia, okay, Brian, we'll take a vote. Brian, I think that's well phrased. Well, Sylvia. So we'll take a roll call vote. Brian,
Aye.
Melissa? Melissa, where are you?
She's muted.
Muted.
Sorry, aye.
And let's see, Sylvia.
aye.
And the chair votes aye, the motion to deny for now. Okay, thank you.
George, can I just make one quick comment? Can I just ask that if there's anything that's written up, that it contains clear and very specific instructions to the applicant as to the reasons and what they need to do, and with mention of the trees? Can I just ask that?
Yes, I
Okay.
think that's a reasonable thing to request.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
I'll watch this over again and make sure I get every detail that was mentioned, and I'll write it out in a letter for you.
Yes, okay, thanks, Megan. Yeah, we can talk about it otherwise too. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thanks. All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, moving on. Request for full certificate of compliance, 142 Bedford Road, DEP 125-1183. Expansion of driveway around and associated grading and tree removal within the 100-foot buffer zone of a BVW. So, sounds like looking at Megan's red lines here, we have an OOC was issued back in August of 24, and the applicant requests the commission to waive the requirement for an as-built plan as noted in the supplemental condition number 65. There was also an issue about condition number 51 about 2 cultivar trees shall be planted within the limit of work and the site stabilized for loam and seed. So do we have a representative of the applicant? Hearing none, Megan, do you want to summarize what your thoughts are?
Sure. Based on the last item, I think that definitely sets the precedent for this item. So they are also they're requesting to waive the
2
the
years.
2-year period for the plantings. So I'm assuming that the commission wants to wait for that time to elapse as well. Noah actually went out to the site and the trees looked healthy. They were planted. So they look fine now, but the order of conditions requires the 2 growing seasons, so this feels like a similar situation.
I think you're right. Any commissioners like to comment?
I did,
Hearing none.
I did take a look at the photographs, but I didn't get a chance to go down there and take a look. I was a little concerned with how well it was seated underneath the trees. It didn't look well, and I couldn't tell if it was just leaves.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It
So
was really hard to tell. I'd like to confirm that it was well stabilized there on some very steep slope.
I was the one who went out and looked, and I personally I thought it was very stabilized. But if you wanted to go on a site visit, and see for yourself, I understand.
Just
But-
walk on the sidewalk sometime and take a look.
Yeah. Come by town hall, it's right over there, so it's not far.
so it sounds like looking at Megan's red lines here that it does not want to waive the conditions. We should deny the request for a full certificate for DEP 125-1183 until the 2-year requirement is met. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Can I ask a quick
What?
question?
Sure.
Is this the property that has the flags on the trees? The ones that's past the fire station on the left, if you're heading towards Westford?
No, this is a Bedford Road.
This house is right next to the post office.
Oh, okay, sorry.
2 doors down.
Yeah,
2 doors down, I think.
Yeah.
all right, so I made the motion.
Can I get a second?
Second,
Sylvia, thank you very much. We'll take a roll call vote. Let's see. We'll start with Brian.
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
aye.
and the chair votes aye. The motion passes.
Well, the motion to reject passes, right? Is
Well,
that-
exactly. Well, that's the motion, right? Oh, come on. All right. Any other members shown up yet as far as the commission goes? We are expecting 2 late arrivals.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So next one, this is a violation for 30 Robbins Road. A violation of order of conditions, DEP file 125-1195, alteration of the 100-foot buffer zone outside the permitted limit of work. So do we have anyone from the owner of the property who would like to make comments?
Don't think anyone is here.
All
But
right,
I
so
will-
Megan, I'll let you make comments.
I will, sorry. Don't mind my scrolling. I'll get there eventually. Okay, I'll start here. So yes, you may remember this project. You recently issued an amendment to the order of conditions, maybe like 2 months ago. So I went to conduct a pre-construction site visit at the end of September. And there was several violations of that order of conditions. So the first violation that you can see in this photo is that they started the work before our office gave the okay, which is required under the order of conditions. So you can see, obviously the soil is all disturbed right here. So they shouldn't be doing any of that work until our office says that the erosion control is in the right place and all those things. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that they executed some work outside of the limit of work, which is defined by that black siltation barrier. So you can see from the photos, actually the left of the siltation barrier is the work area, and to the right of the black is supposed to be the buffer zone, and
Yeah,
actually some of that
undisturbed.
is probably wetland. So they were
Yep.
not supposed to do any work to the right of that barrier, and they clearly disturbed a lot of the vegetation and disrupted that soil. There was some trees that were felled, or I guess kind of pushed over. You can see the root balls coming up into the wetland, and that's also a violation of the order of conditions. And then the other thing was the erosion controller, the sedimentation wattles, I think had some plastic netting. There's 3 different types. I believe at least 2 of them had plastic netting, and there was some gaps underneath the fences too, so it wasn't quite adequate. So I asked them to stop all work until we had this all figured out. But I did send this violation letter just outlining the different offenses that I just went over with you all. Put it on the agenda tonight just to make you all aware. And also, not sure if you wanted to issue an enforcement order or kind of wait a while to see how they comply. But yeah, I just wanted to make you all aware that this is happening. And so I was able to talk to Stamsky and McNary today, and they said that they're coordinating with the wetland consultant to determine the extent of the disturbance, and reflag the missing flags. So, in the meantime, they have stopped all work and they shouldn't be starting any work until I give the okay. So that's kind of the scoop on that. Not sure if you want me to go back to the pictures or if you have any more questions or anything.
So is the point, Megan, that they are aware of the issues and we're going to give them some time to make remediation and then they will come back before us?
Yeah, so I would say typically in an instance like this where there's a violation of an order of conditions, all work would be stopped and then I would probably ask for like a restoration plan to be submitted before
Okay.
they resume their work. But in this case, there's a failed septic system on this property that they're trying to get in before the Board of Health's deadline at the end of November. So Board of Health is kind of eager to have that failed septic replaced as soon as possible because of course a failed septic can have some effects on the wetland, right?
Yes.
So in this case, I've kind of asked that they stop work until they at least meet with me and maybe you all if you're interested. Make sure the erosion control is in the right spot. Make sure the wetlands are flagged, because I couldn't find a few of the wetland flags. And then after everything is kind of like temporarily okay on site, then while they're doing the construction and over the winter, we can work on getting a restoration plan in place. And then hopefully in the spring, they can restore that area that they disturbed outside of the limit of work. That's kind of how I see this going forward. But of course, I put this on the agenda for you all tonight because I'm open to hearing any suggestions you might have or what else you might want to see.
Well, I like your plan, but let's open it up to commissioners.
I like your plan too.
Thank you.
I think it's well thought out as well. It's the next street over from me, and I happened by this over the weekend, just out on a walk. I had no intention of going up there to see what was going on. Just happened to see it, and unfortunately sent Megan a text message over the weekend to tell her I had a problem that was over there that I was going to tell her about, which was too bad because she already knew about it. This is, in 25 years, the worst installation of erosion control I've ever seen. Big gaps. And the first area that she showed was really close to wetlands there. It's where the well is going to be drilled. And drilling wells is a really messy, gooey job. And, I fear for what would have happened if she hadn't gone out there and seen it and stopped the work. The septic system itself is a lot further from the wetlands, and that would be, okay to start on. But I would suggest once they reestablish the erosion control, but I would suggest really making sure that the erosion control around this well area is really buttoned up really tightly before they even think about drilling a well there. And I like her plan, and I think she should put it in an enforcement order.
So I just want to say, Megan, I thought it was a great job.
Yeah.
I read this and thought, oh God, I'd hate to get this.
But I think
Pictures help so
Sylvia-
much. They really do.
I'm not sure anyone is actually living in the house yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So is there really a rush on the septic then?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Board of Health seemed that they wanted me to convey that message tonight that there is a rush on it.
Yeah,
Not that
but
they want us to rush anything on our end, but just to say, kind of
winter
button
is
up the
coming.
site good enough so we
Yeah.
can get this in and then deal with it.
It might be better to get it in now, and once they reestablish the erosion control, than to wait to March 1st when they can do it then, because there's still gobs of water around on March 1st. And it might be better for the septic system then to put in now. But that the site around where the well is supposed to be drilled really needs to be good and solidly tightened up.
So Sylvia,
So-
you're saying you want an enforcement order? Are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting an enforcement order, but I mean, that's up to you folks.
No, it's you too.
Yeah, I know.
That's true.
I'm-
So Megan, are you comfortable with putting together an enforcement order based upon what you presented here and the issues?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, the letter was the hardest part. So most of the work's done. I just have to basically fill out the form. So I think it's appropriate. Um, they violated the order of conditions and we have to enforce the law. So here we are.
I'm
So
just-
can I get a motion to put together an enforcement order?
I'm so moved.
Melissa, second?
Well, I'll second if Sylvia won't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought for sure Sylvia was going to.
A second, a second.
No, too bad, Brian. Beats to it.
That's okay.
Let's take a roll call vote. Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
I,
and the chair votes aye. The motion passes for an enforcement order. All right. Well, I'm running out of pretty pictures in my agenda.
So George, can I ask that we move to number 5, the cupola, while we have Phil Drew here instead of dragging him out to the last?
Oh, that'd be great.
Can-
I'll agree with you.
We do have, sorry, just before that, we do have Julie from planning here as well, waiting to do her presentation or I guess update on the MBTA Communities Act. So I don't want to rush past her either. But maybe we can skip the minutes and bills and get to that.
Well, why don't we jump to the MBTA Communities Act and see what the status is, and then we'll jump to the cupola kiosk.
Hi, everybody. I appreciate that as long as you're not paying the other person with town money, because I'm happy to wait if you are.
No, sorry, you have our attention.
Okay,
Please
all right.
proceed.
Great. Yeah, so I'm here as the town planner for the town of Carlisle. I think I know most of you, and probably most of you are fairly up to speed on what's been happening with MBTA communities. But in case you're not, Megan, am I able to screen share?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let me just, I have a 12-slide presentation, but I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, and then leave some time at the end for questions from you guys. The first 2 slides are just kind of an overview of what the MBTA Communities Act is, and what it means for Carlisle. So basically, it's a state law that went into effect in 2021 under the Baker administration. It requires 177 cities and towns, which are known as MBTA communities, in Mass General Law, to adopt zoning that allows for a certain amount of multifamily housing by right in at least one district. By right means there can be a local process, but it's as long as what's proposed complies with zoning, it can't be denied. So Carlisle is required as an adjacent small town. So we're adjacent to towns that have MBTA services, but we don't have any in Carlisle, as you all know. So we are required to create zoning that allows for the possibility of 95 units of multifamily housing. So the number 95 is 5% of our 2020 housing stock, and 5% is the lowest amount that any community that's subject to this law has to provide. So the housing needs to have a minimum density of 15 units per acre. It can't be age restricted, and it needs to be suitable for families with children. That being said, while the zoning can't require age restricted units, it doesn't preclude a project from proposing units that are for the elderly. It's just the zoning can't specify it. And then our deadline for compliance is the end of this year. So December 31st, we have town meeting on November 2nd, where this will be coming up for a vote. The question of whether we can opt out comes up a lot. The simple answer is no. We're required to comply. The law has been upheld by the Supreme Judicial Court. It's being actively enforced. You guys probably are aware of the lawsuit against Milton, that the Attorney General won that case. All right, so moving on. I'm talking really quick because I want to make sure to give you guys time for questions. But so stop me if I'm going too fast. So multifamily housing is defined as one building with 3 or more units in it, or 2 or more buildings, each with 2 units or more. So the minimum number of units that could be on a site and considered multifamily housing would be 3, or 4 if you have 2 side-by-side duplexes. So this law does not require that we zone for high rises or large apartment complexes. We can say, 2, 3, 4 unit buildings. We can put some specifications in zoning that kind of limit the scale, the gross floor area, and the massing, and I'll get to that in a little bit. And under the zoning, we can protect Carlisle's rural character. We control the location of the zoning. As you know, that's been the big conversation with planning board the last year, basically, is where will we do this and how? And we can control building scale, like I just mentioned. And then in site plan review, the site plan review is the by right process that would utilize here in Carlisle. And that requires a public hearing with the planning board, as well as notification to abutters and a legal ad in the newspaper. So it's a by right process, but there is a conversation and a back and forth, and abutters are notified and can attend. And then we can also have certain requirements for open space and certain limits on the amount of land, the amount of a site that can be covered by buildings. So that can help us achieve some environmental protections on a site. And then just one thing to note is that Title V will always apply. So Wetlands Protection Act as well. This law does not get around state and local septic and wetlands regulations. Okay, so this law is it's not a mandate to build anything. It's zoning. We need to allow for the development, but we're not required to build anything, and no property owner would be required to build anything. It's not restricted to affordable housing. So a lot of people conflate the two things. Actually, originally when the regulations came out, they didn't account for affordable housing at all. And then over the 1.5 to 2 years that the regulations were updated, the state did put in a provision that towns can allow up to 10% of units to be affordable. And again, this is an instance in which we can say 10% of units can be affordable, and a developer can come in and do a 100% affordable housing project if they wanted to. But the great likelihood, I would say, is that most of the housing units would be market rate. Typically market rate housing units subsidize affordable units. And so having a mix is how the development actually pencils. This law is not eminent domain. So the state and the town is not proposing to take private property from Carlisle. And the law does not avoid Title V, like I mentioned earlier. So those regulations still remain in effect, and it does not avoid Wetlands Protection Act. I should probably add that to this slide. So owners of properties that may be rezoned, they don't have to agree with the rezoning. They don't have to give their land to the state or the town. They don't have to develop land. They don't have to do anything differently with their property than they can do today. This is, I hate to say just zoning because I caution against that, but it is something that will be on paper. And that is what the state requires. The state does not require us to build any housing. Okay. So
Interesting.
The quick update of where the planning board is, it's like they've been meeting every week. And was it earlier this week? Was that Monday night? Yeah, I think it was Monday night. They narrowed the sites down to 2 locations. So they had 6 sites on the table that ended up in the town meeting warrant. But then on Monday night, they narrowed it even further to the St. Irene's Parish site, which is 6.24 acres, and the Woodward Village site, that site has 2 parcels. One of them is 9.5 acres, and that's where the housing is. And then there's a open space parcel around it, which would not be included in this zoning. The zoning approach that the planning board has been limited to is the one site approach. So this means that the zoning would have to allow for 95 units, on each of these sites, right? So the planning board's putting forward two sites as a choice for town meeting, so it would be one or the other. It wouldn't be both. So it would be 95 units on St. Irene, the St. Irene site zoning, right? Or 95 units zoned for on 95 or more units zoned for on Kays Walk, because Kays Walk is actually a little bigger. So it's 15 units an acre times 9.48 acres. So it'd be more units there that would be allowed. Whether that's achievable is a whole nother story. The final zoning language has been posted online. It was posted on Wednesday, sorry. It's in two locations. It's under the planning board's MBTA communities page, and it's also on the town meeting page, which you can find under departments on the town website, which has all the information for the upcoming town meeting. So just to give you an idea, we've been going around and giving these presentations to many different boards and committees. And this is kind of the list of support that we have so far. Select Board and Rec Commission are unanimously supportive of compliance. The Housing Trust supports the St. Irene site. And as of last night, the Board of Health also voted to support compliance. Many boards and committees are supporting compliance and not taking a specific position on which site, and that's completely fine. And then we have a few, you guys tonight, and then Finance Committees also tonight, and Historical Commission next week. Okay, so just to give you an idea of like how the planning board settled on Kays Walk and St. Irene's, there was a lengthy process. I know you guys did a lot of work to help with this process, which was very appreciated. Where, you know, the planning board built this scorecard with these different categories: ecological sensitivity, septic and water supply suitability, master plan goals, traffic capacity and mitigation, abutter impact, and structure suitability, and gathered feedback from all of these different boards and committees and commissions and experts to kind of feed into this scorecard. And then Kays Walk and St. Irene's were two of the top ranked once the weighting was decided. And there were a couple others that were pretty high up there, but they were ruled out for various reasons. So these kind of rose to the top. And these two sites were also popular in the community survey that went around over the summer. Okay, so just to give you a little idea of like some of the pros and cons of St. Irene's, we had a water wastewater consultant kind of look at what potentially could fit on the site if you're considering that the septic is local jurisdiction and that there's public water supply wells. So the public water supply wells have a pretty big radius around them, and in that radius there can't be any buildings or septic or anything that's not related to the well itself. So that is one major kind of limiting factor for kind of any development on either of these sites. The other thing with St. Irene's is that there's a decent amount of wetlands. I think there's about over 2 acres of wetlands. And so they were looking at, could you do a 60 unit, 90 bedroom project on this site? And what would be the assumptions that would need to be made? And so I put some of those down here. I think the big thing with this site is that it's not surrounded by town-owned land or conservation land that could be used for nitrogen aggregation. So it might be hard to actually achieve under Title V and local septic regulations, 90 bedrooms. But anyway, we had the consultant kind of look at this from many different angles. Some of the reasons that came out of the scorecard that, this site was ranked high is that it is walkable to town center. Being on East Street, not far from town center, actually enables vehicle access to kind of the major the major east, west, north, south routes through town. So that helps with dispersal of traffic if this were to be developed with any sort of density. There's a somewhat limited number of direct abutters compared to some of the other sites the board looked at. And then redevelopment of the site would require kind of limited new clearing because there's already a large parking lot and large structures on the site, and limited new disturbance in the wetland or adjacent to wetland resource areas. And again, relatively high level of support in the community survey. Okay, so the other site, Woodward Village, I'll just go through some of the reasons this one rose to the top as well. So this one, being located on Bedford Road, Route 225 is a wide road. It has, decent capacity for vehicles, and also enables kind of dispersal through Carlisle into Concord and Bedford. Also access to alternate modes of transportation in those towns, right? So that's, in theory, one of the reasons that this law is in place, right? To build housing near transit, right? This site has a large septic system and public water supply wells already, and it's close to Bedford, which has Massachusetts Water Resource Authority services. So there's, possible potential for tie-in. I don't know how realistic that is, but down the road. And then any development of this site would again require limited new clearing and disturbance adjacent to wetland resource areas. There's a limited number of direct abutters. The property is developed with high value housing, so the likelihood of redevelopment of this property anytime soon is probably, I'm not in the prediction business, but I would say, compared to a lot of the sites the planning board looked at, this site has low likelihood of being redeveloped anytime soon. It's surrounded by protected open space, and it did have a relatively high level of support in the community survey. All right, so just to give you a little, I won't go too deep into the zoning, but if you're wondering, like, we're talking about zoning for 95 units on either of these sites, like what kind of scale are we talking about? A lot of the parameters in here, the ones that are in red boxes, match what we allow in current zoning. And that was feedback we got from the survey, was like, keep the setbacks and the height similar to what we currently allow. And if that works in the state's kind of compliance model, then, that's what we tried to do with this zoning. So the height for Woodward Village would be 40 feet or 2.5 stories. That's in our current bylaw. St. Irene's varies slightly from that because to make it work in the state's compliance model, we had to allow up to 3 stories. So that's a slight change. We do have a requirement for 25% residential open space. And that includes the area that would be in the setbacks, and the setbacks that we have are 40 feet, which is the way it is in the current bylaw. So setbacks from front, side, and rear yards. And then what the planning board's looking to do is actually have a maximum of 4 units per building. And then a minimum distance between buildings of 20 feet. So they're talking about like a series of 4-unit buildings. They do have a provision, and I will go to the next slide actually to just talk about that real quick. There is a provision that the maximum number of dwelling units per building could be increased if the planning board felt that a higher number of dwelling units per building would help retain the rural character of the town or would allow reuse of existing structures. They have a whole section in the zoning where that details kind of more specifics about this, but the footnotes in the dimensional table really are there to allow flexibility or allow for the planning board to waive the strict enforcement of the dimensional requirements under specified conditions. So that it's important to look at that table and look at the footnotes in detail. I would, if you guys have time, I would recommend that. So you can see kind of the thought process. Okay, and then that brings me really to the end. The Carlisle Planning Board would appreciate a vote of support for compliance. Obviously, if you want to get more specific and support a specific site, that's great too. But the ask tonight would be for a vote of support for compliance. All right. I don't know how quick I was, but
Pretty quick.
okay.
Well, I'm impressed with all the work that you have put
Yeah.
into this because it's not an easy problem to try to solve in a town like Carlisle.
I have a few questions, Julie.
Worse.
All right, first thing, both options have been vetted as with the state compliance model, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So there's no doubt that we would be rejected by the state.
So yeah, and just to put a finer point on that, actually the 6 sites that ended up on the warrant were all vetted in the compliance model, and the compliance model doesn't reject, it's just a matter of parameters. So for instance, like if it weren't gonna fit into, like I have the slide up with like St. Irene's wouldn't work with 2.5 story buildings, but it will work with 3-story buildings in the compliance model, right? So it's
Right.
like if it doesn't work, you just adjust kind of some of the inputs into the model.
All right, got it. Second question. The town of Dover was initially predisposed to mandate 10% of what's built be affordable. And they carried on with that sort of notion for many, many months. And then they changed their mind. Why do you think, do you know why they changed their mind, or do you have any insights into that? What are the, I guess the bigger question basically is, what are the pros and cons of mandating an affordability percentage?
So I have no idea why Dover changed their mind. I actually didn't, I haven't had the bandwidth to keep up with all the other towns that are working on this. But I will make a note of that and look into it, Melissa, because that is interesting. So one of the benefits, so if we are required to have 95 units on one site and a developer can do a project that has density, like I mentioned, market rate units often subsidize the affordable units, and inclusionary zoning or zoning that requires an affordability component really only works when density of some magnitude is allowed, because all affordable housing is built at a loss, right? So a developer, to make it work, would need to be able to have a certain number of market rate units.
Well, and Dover is doing a single site maximum density plan, right? They used a consultant from Horsley Witten.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they decided to pull that at the end of the day, but there is support.
I just wonder why there must be a gotcha there that I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of towns have a affordability component in zoning, whether it's through this or some other local inclusionary bylaw. And there is support from the Housing Trust, and the housing production plan supports creating more diverse units and increasing the supply of actual deed restricted affordable housing in town. So it's something that the planning board will likely keep in that. I would think the Carlisle planning board would likely keep that provision in our bylaw.
And then my third question is, my understanding is that a developer could buy adjacent properties and put the infrastructure to support a big, massive, high-density development on the purchased adjacent properties. So they could, buy, the whatever 9-acre lot, build as much as possible on that, but put the septic and the wells on the adjacent acreage that they managed to purchase. So in theory, they could build more than 95 units on either of these options. Is that true?
So with okay, there's a lot there, Melissa. I did talk to town council about the possibility that a developer could buy land next door and put the utilities on that land. And then, like, a lot of people think that the 95 units on one site will never happen, right? But I think that's maybe misguided, because we can't stop a developer from buying the property next door and siting the wells and the septic on that, and then being able to fit the 95 units on the site, right? So that is a distinct possibility. Whether that would mean that they could then develop more than what's allowed in the zoning is not something that I think would be supported by legal counsel. The zoning will clearly state here for, like, St. Irene's, right? It's 6.24 acres, and it's the model requires us, because this is less than for the math to work, we have to do 16 units an acre on this property. So that equals about 100 units, right? So that would be the max that could be developed on St. Irene's. And Woodward Village would be 15 times 9.48, which I believe is about 143 units. So those are the numbers we'd be talking about as a maximum.
But Julie, doesn't the law say a minimum of 15 units per acre and doesn't specify a maximum? So if a developer could actually build 19 units per acre, they'd be free to do so if they could put, all the utilities on an adjacent parcel.
So we have been told by the Attorney General's office that we can do a maximum density. And so that's what's specified in the table, is a maximum.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that, but that's interesting, because the town of Ashby attempted to cap units. Well, they did it a different way. they said once their target had been reached that nothing else could be built. So that's a little bit different. Because they were doing a district that crossed multiple lots. But I don't see why the state would, deny Ashby the ability to cap their development at their target, and then allow us to cap it, because it's one lot instead of two.
There's a lot of nuanced distinctions there, Melissa.
Yeah,
that
I
we
know,
talk
it's
about
complicated.
offline, but we probed those two things, right? Can we put a unit cap, and could we have a cap if we did this across multiple units? And both of those things we were told we could not do, but we were told we can put a maximum density in the zoning bylaw. So
Okay, great.
what we
Thank
don't
you.
have in this table, to your point, is a maximum number of units allowed.
That'd be a good add, I
That's
think.
based on math, because we are not allowed to put a unit cap.
Right. So it'd be a good thing to show the math, because people are gonna all ask it at the, next meeting you're facing. And then the last question I have is ADUs. So I know that an ADU by right is allowed for each property owner. So, but what I don't understand is if that's an ADU by right for each of the 95, owners of these new units, or if that's one for the entire property.
It's one
Do
per
we have
lot.
clarity?
It's
One per lot.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions?
Mine's really simple. If you went to the beginning slide again, so you're saying 95 multifamily units, but you really mean 95 units on a multifamily structure, right? You don't mean 95 units that could be 4 families. You mean 95 units in total, correct?
Yeah, sorry, 95 dwelling units, right? So those could be carved up into, whatever 25 4-unit buildings, or, however the math works, but it's 95 dwelling units.
Just the way you said it says 95 units of multifamily, which just made me try to do some crazy math, and I wasn't sure. It was 3 or 4 per families per unit. It's 95 units in total.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I should change that.
I thought.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good point.
Right.
So
And then
The devil's in the semantics, right?
sometimes. And then so you're asking us to take a vote tonight. And can you just sort of roughly cover the pros and cons, whether we support or don't support? You mentioned that the highest tier was the select board that, I'm sorry, it's not up on the slide, but who completely supported or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Here, let me find that slide.
So I guess I don't know what supports if I had to vote on this right now, I don't know what support of compliance I'm voting on.
Sure, yeah. So supports compliance at this point, since we have a town meeting warrant, and this is Article 1, would be a vote of support for Article 1. So Article 1 will have 2 options, as of today, right? As of Monday, the planning board's narrowed it to 2 options, right? St. Irene's or Woodward Village. The way that I understand that Wayne is going to do the voting is it's going to be like A versus B, right? And then whichever site wins the first round of voting then gets a yes or no vote, right? So a supporting compliance would be voting yes on whatever the ultimate site that ends up. So that, and basically, compliance is important for a number of reasons, mainly to maintain eligibility for grants and critical state funding, and to avoid like costly litigation from the state. The state is actively enforcing the law. The Milton decision actually outlines a number of different avenues that the state has to compel compliance, including appointing a special master to come in and basically figure out our zoning for us, and many other such things like fines and, that increase over time. And there's a whole list, which will be published in an article that's going to go in the Mosquito. I'm sending to the Mosquito tomorrow that the planning board put together. So I will say too, like the planning board had a little bit of kind of a lot of an evolution over the last year and a half about this. I think many planning board members were initially seeing this law as a way to kind of increase diverse housing in town. and like really create something that could work for Carlisle. When the state came back and kind of rejected some of the other zoning approaches that the planning board was exploring, and the one site option became the only way to do this, I think some planning board members opinions kind of changed about like what we can actually achieve with a law like this for Carlisle. And so that's why I think you're seeing on the table two sites, where one site where development might maybe very unlikely, right? And another site where it, you know, maybe not likely to happen right away, or wouldn't necessarily result in a full build out, right? I think the planning board's thinking that, you know, maybe, you know, all the work that they did the last year and a half to kind of figure out multifamily in town in a way that could work better for the town is something that they would take on after this, without the constraints of some of the vagaries of the
Yeah.
MBTA communities law and regulations, right? So right now, I think they're seeing this as like check the box compliance, to keep us eligible for state funding. And then maybe we'll explore multifamily in a different way in the future.
Okay, and if we check the box, you said this doesn't trump the WPA, so we're not,
Right.
Tom isn't waiving or risking anything.
No, yeah, it doesn't get around state and local wetlands and septic and drinking water regulations.
Unlike the 40B.
Correct. So the 40B trumps local
Yes.
septic wetlands regulations, but it doesn't trump state.
Hey,
I think there's great risk to Carlisle in voting no on November 2nd. There's, you know, there's no sort of no upside to it. And I think voting for one of the one site options that are the least likely to be built is the best possible outcome. And I hope that the effort that's gone into all of this, the learning in town and planning board, everything Julie's been involved with, can lead to an actually positive discussion, you know, a productive and an inspired conversation about what housing diversity might look like in Carlisle and what we can do for vibrant town center and all of that. But I think a no vote is a real negative for the town, and I'm terrified at the idea that the state would impose MBTA zoning on us. It seems, in addition to all the other sanctions they might impose.
Julie, sorry, this is Nick from the Conscom. I joined about 15 minutes ago. Sorry. Could you just very briefly, I'm sorry to rehash this, of the two sites, one you think is unlikely, one is unlikely in the short term?
So, you know, likelihood is something that's hard to really like.
Sure. Subject to.
I would say,
yeah.
so
I'm not trying to pin you down.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I do feel comfortable like saying, compared to all the sites the planning board looked at, the Woodward Village site, which is still under construction for the 18-unit development that's been approved there. Very high value, 18 different property owners plus an HOA, right? Seems like it has a lot of barriers to redevelopment in the near term, right? The St. Irene's site, you know, it it doesn't have maybe as many barriers. The decision making is in the hands of the archdiocese, right? Not just like one individual property owner, similar to how Woodward Village decision making would be in the hands of the homeowners association and the 18 unit owners, right? So it's not like the planning board's not giving a project to one individual property owner, right? In either of these cases. But I would say that with St. Irene's, like, just through the conversations with the water and wastewater expert and the idea that like the way to achieve a 60-unit project here is through nitrogen aggregation on an adjacent downstream property, makes that difficult because there's not obvious. St. Irene's doesn't have obvious adjacent land that could be used for nitrogen aggregation. So, you know, there is a possibility that a developer could come in and put a wastewater treatment plant and on this property, right? Pay that money and then not have to be subject to like local septic regulations, right? But in the absence of that, what's achievable on this property may be limited by the fact that there isn't an obvious site nearby where nitrogen aggregation could happen.
Is there
So.
is there any risk that the state views either of these as bad faith compliance, zoning something that's not actually viable and undermining the purpose of this?
So a lot of towns have done this before us, have picked sites where there's, are an 8-story apartment building, or a lot of towns have zoned over existing developed properties and gotten through both the Housing and Livable Communities office and the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
One thing we can't do is zone property that's like a conservation restriction, or there are some there's a few cases of things that are just not going to be possible. Or if we zoned land that then in the next couple of years became a conservation restriction, we would be out of compliance.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other areas that were considered, which you said some of which the state shot down, were they sort of better faith compliance?
This it was more, you mean what, like Carlisle's approaches that were?
Yeah.
So those were, it was mostly the zoning approaches that they didn't agree with. Well, not the actual sites.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just as an aside, I don't know how specifically relevant this is here, but one of my concerns with this whole process has been the number of the arguments I sometimes hear that like the way Carlisle should go about doing this is in a way that's designed to prevent anything from actually getting built. And I think that's a really, I think that's bad faith and undermines the purpose of this legislation. And I really hate hearing that. So I don't know that that's what's going on here, but I hate to see that.
Yeah, I think, the planning board didn't start off that way for sure, right? But the state kind of limiting our options has made the planning board kind of rethink about whether this is the vehicle through which we're going to achieve multifamily housing that makes sense for Carlisle, right? There may be a different way to do it, that would be unconstrained by some of kind of the hoops we have to jump through with the MBTA Communities Act.
Yeah. Do you think that's without the pressure of the state via the MBTA Communities Act? Do you think that's actually going to happen though?
I can't be in the prediction business. Let's just get through the next 10 days and then see.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that's sort of disappointing in some ways, but I think I otherwise though would echo what Melissa said. Non-compliance is not an option. It's just not. And anyone who thinks it is just kidding themselves. And I've spent some time with some folks in Milton's government, and it just, yeah, it's not an option. And again, you're kidding yourself if you think it is.
There are so many better ways to do planning for Carlisle's diversity than the MBTA community.
Yeah, I just am skeptical that people will actually do them unless they have a gun to the head. And I think MBTA offers that.
I think we've opened up a really useful conversation. I think the silver lining in all of this confusion is going to be, greater community awareness. But let's see. I'm hopeful.
I appreciate the positive spin, Melissa. It's been a lot of work.
So. I know it's been terrible, and it's very. I'm sorry that you guys work so hard on alternatives that the state seemed to encourage you to pursue, only to shoot them down not even a month ago. To me, that's just kind of deplorable that the state would do that, leave you in the lurch like that. So I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm not sorry, I didn't do it, but I'm sympathetic.
So you're looking for a motion from us to support compliance? Is that what you would prefer?
If you'd be willing, I think the planning board would really appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to make that motion.
Oh, good. Okay. Second.
So George, I firsted.
I think I heard, yes.
I made the motion.
And Melissa seconded.
Right.
And so we'll take a roll call vote. Brian.
Aye.
Nick, did you hear enough to
yes.
Participate? Okay.
Yeah. Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. I
Good
look forward
job,
to seeing you
Julia.
at
That's
town meeting.
Julie, that was a big effort.
Well, it's not over yet. So please
Oh.
show up on November 2nd.
Gee, it's too bad I'm gonna be on vacation. No, never.
The biggest night of the year in Carlisle, I think. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a
Okay.
good rest of your meeting.
So we jump to the cupola kiosk
Bye,
discussion
Julie.
with
Thank
Phil.
you.
Pardon?
Sorry, I said bye, Julie.
Oh, okay. So let's jump to item number 5, cupola kiosk at Greeno property. So is it Drew, do you want to
Phil.
sorry, Phil, do you want to start the discussion?
Yes, but I have two colleagues with me from Jack Trost, who's vice president of the society, and John Trost, his son, who is the man who originally conceived the idea. And so if Jack is on.
Yes.
Jack.
They're both on.
So, thank you, Phil. I guess just in following up, I was not able to attend or didn't attend the last meeting. But my concern in following up was that there might not be a full understanding of the history of the project. So I wondered if it was useful just to recap the whole history. It wouldn't be a long recap, but I just wondered if that would be helpful.
I agree. I don't know the history myself, so please continue.
Okay, great. So discussions about preserving the cupola as a kiosk date back to August of 2022. So over 3 years ago, this has been an ongoing discussion. The review of the project with the select board, the sustainability committee, and CONSCOM goes back to late 2022 and early 2023 through a series of communications about the idea of preserving the cupola as a kiosk. Then in January 2023, the CONSCOM directed the town and the Historical Society to work with the Land Stewardship Committee for review of the kiosk project. So that was January 2023. Between May of 2023 and June of 2024, the town presented before the town meeting about the intent to preserve the cupola as a kiosk on the Greenell land. That was part of the town meeting, and that this was later stipulated in the bid procedures that when were promulgated by the town for the essentially the deconstruction of the barn and the included the cupola and the frame, which was preserved. And so I guess the only other thing to put on the timeline is that from August 2024 to August 2025, the Historical Society presented before the Land Stewardship Committee the concepts for the cupola to kiosk conversion. And essentially, it was approved, as you know, by the Land Stewardship Committee in August 2025. So to summarize, this has been an ongoing project with the town for about over 3 years at this point. And I just wanted to put that out for anybody if you want to get into any of the details, but it does have a long history.
So I guess my question, and I've asked it before, is where is the kiosk going to be positioned? Is it currently where the barn used to be on flat land, or is it close to wetlands protection area, or has there been a recommendation?
Yeah, so the recommendation was made before the Land Stewardship Committee for the location where it sits now, which is on the site of the barn. It's a little bit in front of that, on an area that's paved. And that was determined based on ongoing discussions with the town about the difficulty about moving the kiosk. At one point, there were discussions about moving it over to Maple Street at the entrance on the other side, and that was deemed to be unsuitable for a variety of reasons.
And I'll just add, in terms of moving it, obviously, one of the major challenges is actually moving the structure, which is massive and very heavy. And it's not so much lifting it. We could easily get a crane in there. It's transporting it, because if you transport it upright, it's going to hit the power lines. And if you transport it on its side, it's going to damage the slate. And then the other consideration that we thought of is when we looked at the site on, I guess it's technically East Street, where the parking lot is, we determined that we would need to do grading, some tree removal, or at least branch removal, and probably pour a slab, all of which would, be fairly invasive, on a conservation property. Whereas where it's located now, it is on an existing paved area. So it's just sitting on pavement, anchored with 4 metal plates that are strapped into the 4 posts, but nothing's actually, buried in the ground. No vegetation had to be removed. And basically the land is undisturbed.
The town, by the way, George, was part of those ongoing conversations between the DPW and the various groups within the town
Sure.
about the risks associated with the town relocating the cupola. There were concerns raised by the town.
Well, and part of that issue too had to do with liability involving the town. And yeah,
And the
obviously it's a
power
risky
lines,
move.
sure. Yeah,
Yep.
that makes
Safety.
sense. So the only, sorry, go ahead.
I have a quick question about transport. It seems to me if you were to have a long, flatbed trailer, and you were to put some kind of a structure with a cushion on it and kind of lean it over so that the roof didn't hit the flatbed trailer, so it was kind of propped up on something secure, why couldn't you transport it not quite on its side, but slanted?
Of course you could, no question. But we think the site where it is, which is near where it grew up, so to speak, is a good site. And so, of course, it's feasible to transport it some way, but it's difficult, as we discovered when we tried to consider how to do it.
I mean, Phil, you're saying it's possible, but in terms of the negotiation with the town, there were concerns raised with the town's insurance over the transport of the cupola. So just to be clear, from a technical standpoint, the town cannot transport it. They have to engage the services of another entity to transport it. And there were concerns. I think, Melissa, it's probably could be what Phil's saying is moved, 5 feet this way or 10 feet this way, but to try to move it, up through Billerica and out and to another location is problematic.
No, I'm I'm not suggesting that you try to transport it standing up straight
We
where you have
understand.
problems with wires. I'm saying if you loaded it onto a flatbed trailer and supported it properly, you could, you know,
Yes,
truck it on a slant and maybe the roof is like this, and but you put a prop under here and secure it at the base, and you can transport it, you know, on a slant under any wires on a long flatbed. And I don't see what the risk is to the town or to the structure in that case.
Well, the other alternative, Melissa, is to why don't you just pull in a helicopter for half an hour, pick it up, take it where you want, and drop it down.
Oh, there you go. I
There's
mean,
another alternative.
it's
Why don't
not
we just
sitting
leave it
actually
where it
where it
is?
used to be anyway. It's already been moved from where it used to sit on, you know, the
Right.
barn, a bunch of
Understood.
feet. You know, it's
It's-
not as though it's never been moved, right?
But why?
So-
Why move
Well-
it, really? It's still in the footprint of the barn it was on, you know.
Okay.
Not
Can
quite.
I guess that's the question is what's its intended how is it going to serve? And, you know,
So if you go back to the history and this information was shared with the town throughout the process, but the contemplated conversion to a information kiosk is to take the 4 window openings and to put information panels in there that would talk about the history, the conservation background, pretty much the same as any kind of information kiosk that appears in other locations in Carlisle.
Yeah, we've seen the drawings, I think, at Phil, you put together
yes.
that showed that.
Correct.
and many of us have been out to the site, me included, by the way.
Yeah, same here. The only real
can I-
issue,
Can you share my screen? I've got a plan that shows exactly where it is and where the barn was and everything.
while you do that,
But I need
the,
permission.
the
You don't need
while-
permission. If you just hit the share, you should have the permission.
should be good. But while that's coming up, the only issue that the commission was afraid of was that apparently the barn suffered from graffiti a lot. And the question is that going to also impact the kiosk?
So, George, just to answer that question, because this did come up in the Land Stewardship Committee discussion. I mean, obviously, the vandalism on the barn was a real problem. It only got worse in, you know, recent years. I think, you know, as people saw it getting in worse and worse condition, the vandalism increased. What we have observed with the cupola is it's been on the ground now for over a year, and we have not observed any graffiti on it. So we think that's a good sign, considering
Really?
that it's in need of a lot of repair and it does look abandoned currently. And our thinking is, you know, if we do invest a decent amount of money into fixing it up and making it presentable, the vandals will not go after it like they did with the barn, which was more or less kind of just unsecured and left abandoned.
Yeah, and I would just
Understood.
add to that, George, that the reasons that the other property was vandalized is because it was the vandals were occupying the building. You know, they were finding ways to get into the building. It wasn't just that they were vandalizing it, you know. So I sort of see it as similar to other similar, you know, uses of information boards.
And I would point out too, that the signs that are currently on the land, that nobody has tampered with in any way.
They did tamper with the railings on the new dam. They were spray painted it, and Steve Tobin went out there with his sander and took it off so it doesn't show. But I've got the kiosk as it looked like yesterday. Someone must be working on it. And can you see that? Can you see the picture?
I see the map.
You see the map.
I don't see the kiosk.
You see
Yeah.
the, you don't?
No,
Oh, well, first of all, then let me see them, show you the map. And
Where's the pond?
this is about where the kiosk is now. And the, try to,
Okay, yeah.
I'm not
okay,
seeing
now I have
your-
to get rid of that. Okay. And it's been a while since I've done this. And the barn, the outline of the barn is here.
Yep.
And so the cupola was right about here, sort of in the middle. It's outside the frame. It's not off the property, but so, and the flood
And now
zone,
it's where?
it's, so here's one of the wings of the barn, and here's the other wing of the barn. And then the setback was over here somewhere.
Okay.
And this is where the cupola was originally on the barn. It's a sort of at the top. This is all grassy now in this whole area. And this here is the 100-year flood zone. So the barn was pretty much outside the flood zone.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And where is
So,
it now, Sylvia?
Where's the
Where's
cupola now?
And
Yeah.
the kiosk right now is right about here on this little piece of,
Yeah, okay.
paved.
So it's in the flood zone then?
It's in the flood zone.
And it's not where the barn used to be.
No, well, I guess the barn was like this.
Well, yeah, you're right. They had a little
And
finger
so
out there.
the cupola was somewhere over in this area.
Okay.
And I went out there yesterday and measured, and this is the bank of the pond here. This is the
Mhm.
wetland, and there's no wetland flag there now, but from here to here was 55 feet. But the wetland flag was a little closer. So if we get rid of this, so that's where you can see the facts anyway. I'll get back to here and try to get rid of this guy. How do I get rid of him?
So Sylvia, would this be above the flood zone, given its sort of plinth, its little steps?
Oh, there's no steps there now. I mean,
No, but the intended
structure that
the intended structure.
it would be within the flood
Kind of
zone.
mounted on.
No, but would it be above
Yeah.
the flood water level?
Yeah, I mean, it's above the 100-year flood zone. I've been out there a lot. I've never seen the water up there that high. I mean, it could be considered de minimis, but it is definitely in the flood zone.
Right, but it's going to be elevated, right? Or no?
No,
Yeah, well, it's gonna be elevated a few feet.
Yes, it's on short legs and it can stand getting its.
Two steps, right, Phil?
yeah.
Yes,
Is it going to be raised above where it is right now?
no,
No.
Oh,
just
no,
Steps,
just encircled by steps.
correct.
Okay,
Right.
The amount of space it takes in the floodplain is really, really minimal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
yeah.
I think, now, can you see this?
I had heard that there was graffiti in the building.
I didn't see any yesterday. I've got a
good.
picture
No.
up, and I don't know why you can't see it.
I don't know.
There has been, as reported, no graffiti
Hmm.
or damage to the cupola since it's been taken down for now
Well, that's good news.
over a year.
And is there a graffiti resistant paint? Maybe not. I guess there's no such thing as.
I don't think so, Melissa.
No.
I'm going to try something. I'm going to stop share, and then I'm going to bring up the photograph that I took yesterday. And so that you can see.
Drum roll, please.
Where did the photograph go? It's been a while since I've done this.
While she's looking, in terms of compensatory flood storage, the surface area of what's touching the ground there is just absolutely trivial.
Right.
Yeah.
What the barn was, and it's out of the 100-foot. It's 55 feet away from the wetland. I can recall a house on Bingham Road. I took a fit because they were going to be within 25 feet of the wetland with their structure. This is not it doesn't seem like it's that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean,
Right.
this is what it looked like yesterday. It looks like some folks are working on it because I don't
Sorry, when
remember.
I look, I only see part of the, can you move the picture to the right or left?
Or blow it up.
Something, there it is. Okay. We couldn't see it, Sylvia.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be nice with signs on it to explain
Yep.
the history of the property.
At the very top of the point of the roof of it is something called a finial.
Yeah.
And that is the finial that attaches the weather vane that used to be on the cupola that was on top of the barn.
Oh,
And once the property was no longer being lived on, which was in the early 2000s, I was very worried that that weather vane would disappear through vandalism. And so I think it was the fire department that came and rescued it. And it may be at the Historical Society.
It is.
And I gathered from a conversation I had a few years ago that you couldn't put it up anywhere because the finial had gotten left on the cupola. So,
So actually, Sylvia, that's not entirely correct. The issue
Oh.
was the bracket at the bottom that held the post. We didn't have that.
oh, okay.
But we do have the little wooden and metal finial. It's like a cone that goes on top of that point there.
are you gonna put it back up on the?
No, they won't dare do that. It'll
Oh,
disappear. Come on.
I would
Yeah.
say we should leave it where it is, but I again, it wasn't contemplated to put it back on.
Yeah,
Oh, it
no.
just-
Yeah, the
Maybe a
one-
replica. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing we might do is just put the finial back on, just because it would prevent the top post from rotting.
Oh, definitely don't
but-
want rot. I've
yeah,
just
I
had
mean, in
painters
terms
in
of-
my house and it's like, no, you don't want rot.
Absolutely
it would
not.
be fun to see the weather vane up, but I don't know. I mean,
You
that's
could put up a replica or some little, something,
replica would disappear.
less precious.
Well, the good news,
I'm-
Sylvia, is we do have the topper. So the piece with the dog on it actually screws off, and we now have the topper very prominently featured in one of our galleries at the Heald House Museum.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
So,
But
let me go back to the top here. So the question is, we have a discussion, and we've had a discussion. What are you guys looking for from the Conservation Commission?
So the
Agreement that where we're planning to put it, where it is,
yeah,
and can proceed with renovating it and modifying it to become a kiosk.
Well, then I'll put it to the commission. Or do you have any comments on where it is relative to where it should be? Hearing
I
none.
just have one question.
Sure.
As I told you in the past, I feel that this should be a WPA filing, but if you choose not to because you think it's de minimis, fine. But if there is a lot of sort of unacceptable artwork, who's going to be responsible for fixing it?
Well, I think we could take that responsibility.
I think we would work with the town, obviously, Sylvia, because it is the town's property. But I think that because of the information and the goal that the Historical Society has to make this a useful kiosk, we certainly will be on top of the maintenance. Will be concerned about anything that could cause damage.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I mean, obviously, sorry, go ahead, Sylvia.
I was just going to say, if someone sees something out there, then they should report it to you guys or to the town or both.
No, to Sylvia.
I think it's beyond the scope of the WPA, though, to talk about.
Oh, right. I agree.
But I think that's a fair question, and I would say that both the Historical Society and the town have a vested interest in, certainly not having anything disturbing, that would appear, or even just general graffiti.
Yeah, but I mean, if you like put a lot of work into it and make it look really nice, and someone comes in and does what they do,
Takes it home. Yeah.
it'll be really too bad.
All right.
Can I make a motion to keep it where it is and we move forward?
And support that it stay on the Greeno property as
Yeah,
intended.
I
So that's
second.
Brian and Melissa. Thank you. We'll take a roll call vote. Nick,
Muted.
is he still here?
Thumbs
Yeah,
up.
Yes, aye,
Thumbs up.
sorry.
up.
It took me a while to get off mute. Aye, aye.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. It also might be useful to include in that motion, unless you're going to do it separately, that they don't need a WPA permit, just for the record, for what they're currently proposing.
You know what she said.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you, Melissa. We'll incorporate that. Yes.
No, it was Megan, but
Brian.
Melissa-
I'm
Melissa-
sorry,
Right,
Megan.
Megan.
Yes. Right.
Yes, thank you, Megan. So do you want to do the motion over again, Brian?
Sure. I make the motion that we leave the kiosk, the cupola where it is right now, and that we do not require any RDA or NOI filing to keep it in its current position.
I second.
WPA. Okay. Brian and Melissa, thank you very much. So I'll go back to Nick
Aye.
and let's see, Sylvia.
I'm going to abstain from this one.
Just for fun, you mean?
Yeah.
All right. And the chair votes aye. The
No,
motion
no, what about
passes.
Melissa? No, we didn't get to vote. Melissa and I didn't get to vote.
Need to
Aye.
I
vote.
thought you both did.
No, we just
Oh,
made the
Not yet.
motion.
Oh,
No, wait.
all right. Come on. Here, you ready? Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Abstain.
just abstain. Good. Nick.
Already did.
Already
Oh, I
voted.
know that, but okay. And
Right.
the chair
Right,
votes
thank
aye.
you.
The motion passes.
Right.
Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation.
Thank you,
Yeah,
John.
thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Well,
Enjoy.
we look forward to having a little trip out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll have a picnic for you.
Oh,
There you
and-
go.
And by the way, there's still erosion control out there that looks pretty ugly and probably should come up. I don't know who's responsible for doing that. Certainly not the Historical Society, but.
I think you are because you were the agent.
Careful what you say, Sylvia.
All
Maybe
right.
we can get the DPW to do it.
All right, so we've been through 2 hours, so why don't we jump to the Land Steward Committee updates?
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I see that Dan Cook is here from the Sudbury aspect, or actually, Dan, are you with Suasco or Billerica? Now I can't remember.
I'm the Carlisle representative to Suasco's
Okay, there you go.
Wild Scenic River Stewardship Council.
All right, so yeah, we have this item on the agenda that Suasco kind of asks the Conservation Commission to submit a letter of support for the to the Billerica Town Manager for the removal of the Talbot Mill Dam. And I just noticed that Dan was here, so I didn't want to skip by this item because he's been patiently waiting. If that's okay with the chairman.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Dan, can you describe the project that you're supporting?
Yeah, thank you for considering this. I used to be a conservation commissioner myself in Carlisle, so it's fun to get back in the groove here. But this is a really exciting project that to remove the Talbot Mill Dam that's been there for 314 years since 1711 in Billerica, and we're trying to develop or build some political support for removing the dam. We have gone through all sorts of studies and permitting, and we're just about to get it over the hurdle, and the Billerica Historical Committee decided that they had jurisdiction and jumped in and have currently blocked it. So we have a hearing coming up that's just been rescheduled to December 1st, where they're they have to defend that they actually have jurisdiction, which we don't think they do, and we have quite a lot of data behind it. But the key thing is to build political support behind this, and this is the the most extensive restoration of migratory fish breeding habitat in of any dam approval project in Massachusetts currently. It's 399 um, square miles of habitat, and we're talking about 100 miles of tributary, 35 miles of main streams, Concord, Assabet, and Sudbury rivers, and about 260 acres of lakes and ponds. So the migratory fish that are critical are the alewife primarily. I've been for the last 4 years trying to count alewife coming up through a fish ladder, and we have seen none. But there's hundreds of thousands of alewife that are migrating up into the Merrimack River and could migrate up through the Concord River past this dam once it's taken down. And that has huge impact on the quality of the environment in this watershed, in feeding the fish in the watershed. But then after they breed, those fish go back to the ocean, the Gulf of Maine and Cape Cod Bay, and become
Adults.
yeah, great food for, if you're a
You and me. Yeah,
bass
okay.
fisherman, etc. So it's and also the whales and porpoises, etc. So pretty exciting. And I'm really excited about another aspect of it. There'll be more fish in the river, and that will help clean it up naturally. Freshwater mussels filter about 20, as much as 20 gallons of water per day. And there are about 12 freshwater mussels throughout Massachusetts, and a number of them in this watershed. And some are endangered. And the way they migrate is that they grow little worms or insects, and the fish come in close, and they get sprayed with the spawn from the mussels, and they get into the gills and to the uh, scales of the fish. They swim around for 30 days and then drop the spawn off, and that's how we spread those mussels around and help clean the water naturally, which is including pollutants, bacteria, algae, etc. It's sort of like the oysters in New York and the billion oyster program they have down there, which is really cleaning up the water. So there's some really interesting aspects of that, and we're looking for support. The owner of the dam is very excited about taking this dam down. He has a lot of liability with it, but he's been very cooperative and helpful. He donated a building to the Middlesex Canal Association, and those are the guys that are behind trying to keep the dam in place. And so we're kind of ironic. And again, all the environmental studies have been done, and even historical studies. Part of the dam will still remain. So we think it's reasonable to get past this, and we need political support. And you guys would be great to have you do that. The other thing too is talking to Barney Arnold. She thought that if you guys could then also talk to the select board, that would motivate them to go ahead and be able to do the same thing in supporting this in the form of letters to the town manager and Bill Ricca.
So can you talk a little bit about there still be some dam remaining? You're only taking down part of it?
They're taking most of it down. It's just a little section they're going to keep just for historical perspective, for a historical vantage point, maybe some visuals to show what the dam used to look like, etc.
Okay.
Yep.
And the mussels that are in the river, they're not zebra mussels, are they? They're
Oh,
just
no. Yeah,
okay.
There's a brochure from the Massachusetts Department of Mass Wildlife that
Okay.
Josie, I can send that, or I can email this to you guys if you're.
No, that's all right. I'm just familiar with zebra mussels in the Great Lakes, which are
Yeah, big
freshwater
problem.
too, and they're taking over, which is a big problem.
Yeah, I used to live out in Chicago, and yeah, it's a huge problem now. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm an oceanographer, so I get to
Oh,
know a little bit about this.
yeah. All
Didn't
right.
they come in on shipping?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Big ships that go through the Great Lakes, they empty their ballast into the Great Lakes, and that seeds all the mussels there. But that's not the problem we're talking about. It's much smaller.
Yeah.
So Dan, when do you need this for? Because I feel like I certainly would need more information before I could vote on this. I would like to know more about it, about what the impact is of removing the dam on the wetland species upstream of it, information that you probably all have. Not that
Yeah.
I'm a historian that I want to leave it there, but I'd certainly like to know what the impacts are, besides the alewives and the positives.
Yeah, the impacts are primarily very, very positive, and that you finally get the migratory fish to come back into this gigantic watershed, the largest dam removal project in Massachusetts, and the uh, the vote is coming up, or the discussion is coming up December 1st, so we kind of needed a letter sent pretty quickly here. There are some issues with water level. They aren't actually issues. Concern about water level. We're talking about maybe a 4-inch difference when the dam comes down, because there's a natural dam above where this man-made dam is, that the city of, or the town of Billerica gets their water from. So that's not being lowered very much at all. They have some concerns about their water supply, but we haven't, historically, that it's never gotten too low to affect their water supply. They see money on the table, and they maybe like to try to get a second source of water through MWRA, and that's probably not feasible under this program. They're gonna have to do that some other way.
So I'm asking, can you provide some documentation to George or to
To us.
yeah, to Megan, so that we can take a look at this? We'll have another meeting in a couple of weeks, but I'm
Okay.
uncomfortable to vote on it tonight. I don't have enough information.
What kind of information are you looking for at this point then?
I
I
don't
sent
know quite now. I'd like to, if you said it was studied for years, there must be some documentation on all this, right?
Yeah, actually, I
Ryan,
sent
the
the link.
materials that I put in the packet did have a link to the Oars Talbot River Dam Removal website. So you should be able to review that.
Yeah.
Dan,
Well, I didn't know it was the
anticipate,
oars.
Dan, do you anticipate, do we see shad or river herring too?
Or
potentially?
Atlantic salmon coming up the river?
Yeah, that would be nice. Salmon don't come up the Merrimack River, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
What about shad or river herring? We see any of the populations like that that might be encouraged by the dam removal?
That could well happen. And shad and alewife are, similar.
Yeah.
Also American eel and lamprey that are migrating up
Yeah, and
the.
certainly alewives are good little fishies that do a lot of beneficial stuff for us.
Yeah, and the alewife, have trouble getting over small dams. So it's
Yeah. And these are low head dams that don't, serve much of any purpose other than to, prevent upstream.
there is a small dam with a fish ladder above the dam, and that's going to be, there's a new fish ladder going in there.
Yeah.
And so this is really the only obstruction all the way up into the full length of the Sudbury, the Aspet, the Concord rivers.
And
Wow.
and the last obstacle is going to be up at Billerica, right? At that point there's another dam where they're not going to be
So
able to go further
Billerica
north.
is the primary. It's a 10-foot dam, and it's the primary dam that it is the only dam that's really blocking the way for the
Oh, I see. That's that's the Talbot Mills Dam?
Talbot Mill Dam. Yeah, correct.
Oh, Talbot Mill. Isn't there another dam north of that? No.
There is the Centennial Dam. It's a small dam, and there's a hydro plant there, and they're supporting the whole process and behind building a decent fish ladder that'll actually work. And so that's already in progress.
I love this project. I think it's a great thing.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Not to sound too biased.
A quick question. You said the Talbot Mill Dam was built in 1711?
That's correct.
Wow.
It's had some, changes over the years, but primarily that's when it started, when the fish could not migrate past that point.
Well, I appreciate that. My house was built in 1650, so
Wow.
I like antiques things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
All right. So, any more commissioners would like to make comments or recommendations?
So remind me when you'd like some kind of vote from us again in order to be timely.
We have the hearing on December 1st, and we're trying to get as much lead time on, showing support from other towns. Wayland has sent a letter in, and we're working on getting others as well. So we have a short time frame, unfortunately, to build up the support and educate folks about what's going on here.
So we have another meeting November 6th. We actually have two in November before that. So I can put this on the agenda for November 6th to give the commissioners maybe some more time to look into it individually, and then we can maybe bring it back up at the next meeting. Does that sound okay?
Well, I know Brian's very interested in that because and I'm with him. I don't have enough information.
Okay. So there's a package that is part of the hearing coming up, which I think I sent a link to you guys on, and I will follow up and make sure you all have that. So through Megan.
That'd be great.
Noel did put together a nice letter, draft letter for everyone to look at, which I read down through it. I would like to read down through it again, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Yeah.
It looked like it took a lot of work.
In general, I'm pretty sure the Conservation Commission will support your efforts. We just need to understand better what the impact is.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to move this to the next November 6th meeting?
So moved.
Well, that's Brian. No second?
A second.
Sylvia, thank you. We'll take a roll call vote. We have Nick.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Melissa.
Though I will be out of the country.
Well, okay. Sorry. Hopefully some more fun. Sylvia?
I seconded.
Yeah, we have to.
No, but you still have to vote.
Aye.
Okay. And the
Sorry.
chair votes aye, so the motion passes. We look forward to more information.
All right. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. So
All right.
where do we go next? We can either do land stewards or discussion of removal of the riser boards and clearing the mud and the sticks in the cranberry bog number 1.
Whatever melts your boat.
Let's do
Well, they're
stewards.
probably both for you, Brian. When do we start with the
Exactly.
land stewards and then we'll do bills at the end?
I'm sorry, you said land stewards first? Because that's really quick.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Okay, so someone else needs to make a motion to accept Alex, Chris Spinney, I don't have it in front of me.
Right.
Jane and myself as the co-conspirators, the
Conspirators, that sounds good.
so that we can further investigate the Woodward property license and the documents that went with it.
Okay.
And I
Well,
can't,
this is,
well, I think I have to abstain because I'm part of it. I mean, I certainly
I
would
think
vote
you
for the
do
other
too,
three.
because your name's on the ballot.
Okay, so I'm recused or abstained or whatever one
But
is.
you can make the motion. Can I get a second, please?
I have some questions.
Well, go for it.
That doesn't mean it can't be seconded, but I have some questions. I've been going to some of the recent land stewardship meetings, and can you, well, one thing, what's the purpose of the subcommittee, and what is it really supposed to do? In a nutshell.
The subcommittee has a very narrow focus, as you might have heard in the last meeting or read in the Mosquito. It's only to review the license and the support document.
The license or the support document?
The
is it
license
to review the license as well? License agreement?
We'll review the license agreement and the support document. The support document was part of the addendum, and it had things in it like dogs must be on a leash, and that's not up to the licensee. They're not the dog police. So there are things we're going to have to change in the support document. And that's all we're looking at. We're gonna talk to the stakeholders, to the abutters, to other town boards, and get everybody's information and propose some edits to that. And then the subcommittee will go back to the LSC and tell them what we think. That's it. It's not to look at the history or to talk about changing the license structure or a different license or put it back to hay or put it back to grazing. It's just a very narrow focus.
I mean, that would make, that's LSC is a subcommittee, so that would be a subcommittee of the subcommittee. What would the role of the Conservation Commission be after that?
Not much, because the charter of the LSC is to manage these conservation lands. I think if we did something egregious, I would hope that the Conscom would say, you can't tar that property.
Right. Yep.
So I'm concerned that there's only 4 people on that, and I would like to encourage a 5th person. And I would like to suggest a 5th person come maybe from the CCF.
We can't have another person because we can't have a quorum.
What's the number of people?
4. And sorry, but Sylvia.
What's the number of people on LSC?
10.
Oh, no. Okay.
You can have another person. 6 is a quorum.
Sylvia, we're not going to change. We're only asking you right now to approve these people, not to change what we're doing. If you want to come and propose that in the future, we can talk about that. But that's not the issue in front of us for today.
Well, I don't understand. Why isn't that, why isn't the number of people on the subcommittee an issue?
Why is or why isn't?
Why isn't it? Isn't that part of what we're discussing? No? Sorry, maybe I'm missing it.
We were only allowed 4. We had 6. We couldn't have 5.
Why?
Because we only have 10 on the. I'm just telling you.
6 is a quorum. I looked it up.
Anyway, we're not changing the number of people.
Okay.
That's not what's on the table. We're asking you to approve these people or don't approve them, whatever you want to do, but it's not an option to get into a discussion of how to change and restructure it, Sylvia. That's
no, but we could say we're not approving based on that number. That's an option.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it's not factually correct.
Yeah, it's not, I think it's not helpful to just kind of shoot down the point that way, is what I would say.
Do you need a subcommittee, Brian?
No, I don't think so. The subcommittee was chosen by Barney Arnold, who's our liaison. She wanted us to have a subcommittee. Ryan, in writing, suggested we don't have a subcommittee. We handle it as a group. Barney again argued in our last meeting that it really should be a subcommittee, and we kind of caved in. We had 6.
Agreed. Okay.
And
what has town council said about this?
I don't think we spent money on town council. It's just not that we don't need to spend a lot of money on this.
I mean, is there a legal issue about what a subcommittee?
Maybe you should let Suki's
Just
in here.
asking.
Would you
Yeah,
allow her?
Suki, do you want to talk to us?
Yes, thank you. Um, what- sorry, I have puppy. Um, the the LSC as a committee wants a subcommittee. So that's one thing. It was suggested by Barney Arnold. She also suggested that it be a small number of people, so that there is, uh, so things happen faster, and so it's easier to get an overall agreement. She felt it was better to have a small amount. 4 is a good number because right now, yes, there are 10 people, but by the end of the year, we expect to lose one more. So then we would be down to 9. And 5 would definitely end up being a quorum.
That's true.
So my comments. Thank you.
That makes sense. Okay, got it.
So I have one other thing that I wanted to bring up. I think you've mentioned at the last meeting that you don't really have a management plan yet from Grow Native. And that was because there wasn't a CR on that third parcel that's
Oh,
listed.
worse than not a CR, we didn't have a plot plan. So Megan is working with Stamsy McNary to get a final plot plan on that lot because the concern of Grow Native was, I don't know what I've got. So they went out last Friday with Judy and with Steve, and they went over the known bounds. But now we're asking Stamsy McNary to make a plot plan for that lot so we can see what's what and what they've got.
So the question I had really is, I looked at the agricultural agreement that was signed, and it's the sort of the usual agricultural agreement, and it lists the lots that the agreement is on as map 10-3-B-1, map 10-3-B-2, and map 10-3-B-3. Those are the 3 lots it mentions right on the front page.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at the town's GIS maps. There is no map 10-3-B-3.
Isn't that great?
There's only 2 lots that exist there. There's a third lot, but that's map 10 parcel 4-OS.
So they have to be, so Stamsy McNary have to go out and finish, they surveyed it, they did their bounds, they need to make a plot plan, and then the town needs to call that 10-3.3.
Why?
Because that's the final piece of the CR of the land that we leased, we gave the license to.
Well, where is it? I mean, it isn't on 10-3- I mean, isn't on map 10 parcel 4? It's part of the open space.
Parcel 4.
Woodward.
Parcel 4 needs to be relabeled.
You're relabeling it?
Parcel 4 needs a plot plan. This is way beyond the scope of what we're trying to vote on right
Yeah.
now.
Well,
4 needs a plot plan, and then it needs a CR, and then it needs to be incorporated with the other 3 lots in terms of what we've given a license to. So the only reason they can't finish, or they couldn't before, is they didn't know what they had. We've met with them and explained what they get. So they're in a better place. They're just trying to see where the invasives are. But that's not what's on the table tonight, Sylvia.
That's true. I agree with that. But I was very concerned that there was an agricultural agreement for a signed agricultural agreement for a lot that doesn't exist. And the other one, it doesn't exist. So that was my concern.
I think that's important context. And I have 2 other comments that I think are context too. One is that I took a walk around Woodward, and as far as I could tell, there was very little in the native value category. And mostly what we grew there this year was a bumper crop of foxtail grass, which is non-native and very invasive. And because we didn't mow, we've just dramatically added to the seedbed. So we're, putting ourselves behind the 8 ball when we think about trying to convert such a big property to native plants. All we're doing is just seeding it like mad with aggressive foxtail seeds. So I find that sort of unfortunate. And that led me to my second point, which is I don't see a management plan, or a vision going forward that's a little more comprehensive. I know we've got a license out, but that's not the same thing as a broader sort of vision for this property. So
the goal of the subcommittee will be to take stakeholder input, and you as conservation may want to come and say, why are there so many invasive grasses, which there are in every field in Carlisle, because that's what farmers planted, because that's what they wanted for hay. But it's going to take time to take care of that. We do need the management plan, but we have this subcommittee that's going to meet with the abutters, with other people, with other groups, and work that through and make a presentation back to the LSC. So
good.
Because
it's not going to happen just by leaving it fallow and saying, oh, let nature take it. It's not going to happen,
But I'm
realize
saying
that, right?
You need to bring that. You're leading me. You need to bring that to. You're welcome to bring that to the subcommittee and present that. But that's not what we're here. We're only here to vote for people in for a subcommittee and make the recommendation of the select board. That's the only issue in the agenda right now.
Okay. George, I think we have someone from the public.
Hearing none, then any other commissioners like to make a comment? Gonna get a motion to.
Well, you've got somebody from the public who wanted to say something.
Oh, we do.
Who? Sue. See her?
Do you mind if I just say one thing?
Yes.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I was hoping that maybe you would reconsider what Sylvia said about adding another member, even if it were temporarily, to have someone that wrote the CR, someone from CCF would be really helpful in the beginning, because like Sylvia, my understanding was it was map 10, 3B1, B2, B3. I'm not sure where Brian has map 4. I don't know where 4 is, but the person who writes the CR, they'll know all these details intimately. So even if it's temporarily, I think that'd be a really great value add.
They will be interviewed, but they're not part of the land stewards, so they're not part of our subcommittee. Our subcommittee is only the land stewards. It doesn't have a scope beyond that. We agreed to take stakeholder input, and anybody who wants to give us that information, we're happy to take in, and then we'll make a report back to the land stewards.
I was just thinking, just baseline, like what land are we talking about? Just getting the the basic stuff.
All we're here tonight is to start the process by getting the 4 members so that they can get approved by the select board, so we can start something. And George, Suki has her hand up again.
Go ahead, Suki.
All right, so just to back up what Brian has said, CCF is considered one of the stakeholders, so they can come in and we can call them in very early on so that they can clarify all that stuff, about the lot lines and the restrictions and so on. But no, they don't have to be part of the initial part of the subcommittee.
Subcommittee, right.
So they don't have a vote. Pardon?
They don't have a vote. You're correct.
Okay.
They won't have a vote.
But their input will be put into some document that will go to LSC. And if Conscom or anybody else has an issue with it, you could bump that up higher.
So maybe someone from CCF is an expert, subject matter expert or something that you have as.
Absolutely, as you will be.
Okay.
The butter, right?
Just to clarify this business about parcel 4, the Woodward fields that have the CR on them belonged originally to the David Woodward and his former wife. And that was parcel 3. Parcel 4 belonged to David Woodward's sister. And so all of Woodward Village and the open space that went with it is all parcel 4. So if you're going to make any changes, you probably have to go back to the planning board to get that renamed if you need to get it renamed.
Okay, but again, it's 9:30 at night and we're only trying to.
She said she didn't know where it was. So the purpose for the CR for that was to allow for a water supply well line to go from the water supply well, potential water supply well, probably 50 years from now, that's on the refuge to gain access to Maple Street. That's what the CR was for.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm following. Thank you.
All right, so I'm starting to lose the bubble here and what we're trying to accomplish.
I made a motion to please accept and make a recommendation to or first accept, maybe a second recommendation is to submit to the select board the 4 candidates from the LSC so they can form a subcommittee, because we don't apparently have the legal authority to do that, nor do you. It has to be the select board.
Understood.
So that's why this is on there. If you don't want to vote for it now, don't, but it just delays. I mean, poor Sue, she keeps saying, I've been waiting 6 months, 7 months. I think it's 8 months now. Ken, what do you got?
Well, Brian, you've made it clear that you're open to all sorts of input from anybody. So there's no reason not to establish this committee as is and let people make their comments and arguments and so on before you. So
just they won't have
I would support this.
And so the four members are
Alex Pereira, Chris Spinney, who he's still here,
Shane
Usher, and myself.
Right.
Thank you.
So do I dare ask someone to make a motion?
I so move.
That's Melissa. Seconded? Nobody? Can I second it?
I can't.
Well, I will. I never get to second anything. Let's take a roll call vote. See who's left in this meeting here. Nick.
I suppose.
Brian.
I think I have to recuse because I'm one of the members, but
I think you're right.
I would gladly vote for the other 3.
Okay. Melissa.
Aye.
Sylvia.
Reluctantly, aye.
Okay, and the chair votes aye, even though he seconded. Motion passes.
Because that field is being ignored only. Because
I'm hoping the subcommittee can for division that is more in keeping with conservation.
I'd like to see a list of all the native plants that are there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Haven't seen an inventory yet. Yes.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow's supposed to be Sunday. You should get out there and start counting the plants.
Yeah, I did walk around and all I saw was foxtail and
yeah, I know you noted that before.
Don't forget, it's also a drought year. I mean, if you look across Fox Hill, it's also awful.
Brian, it's former farmland. It's not full of native beauties. It's full of other plants.
All right.
And just so you know, I remember when those fields were in row crops. It was a long time ago. It's been in agriculture a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the last major discussion is removal of the riser boards, clearing of mud and sticks of the Cranberry Bog Denver 1 outlet control structures to control the water level upstream of the dam and lessen stress on dam before repair. So now that things have changed because we are the beavers have been removed. We are ready to get rid of their house or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the word.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lodge. So, does this still make sense as a motion?
Absolutely, because Chris Spinney, who's actually in this call,
Okay.
he took an 8-foot stick and put it into a hole through the dam. And then he said beyond that, he went up to his shoulder. And he's a lot taller,
Wow.
he's a lot taller than
Okay.
I am. So
Yep.
given that there might be some Swiss cheese there, and Megan had said, we might be able to take LiDAR radar and examine where the catacombs are. I think the best decision is that while the water level is low, let's remove those deltas in front of the flash risers. Let's remove the boards down to close to the current water level so that if we have some catastrophic water event, we don't have the 2011 catastrophic dam failure we had back then. Before
Right. It'll manage the water flow to where it should go. Right. Understood.
it relieves the pressure from the dam. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would do both risers. But Chris is
Yep.
in the call. I don't know if Chris has anything to say.
Yeah, I'd love to give some input if I can recognize by the chair.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, Brian mentioned that I didn't quite understand what he was getting at first, but I still think that there's a lot of material in front of those risers. I think some of that material is structural that actually holds the risers in place. So I would recommend against trying to remove all that material. First of all, there's a lot of it. And I think if you don't mind, I'll share. I've got a few pictures I can show you guys and walk you through it.
Please do.
All right. Thanks. My screen. Presentation. So I can send you this when we're done with the meeting for the records if you want. This is just a little cross section.
You
I
can't
kind
see
of
it
drew
yet,
up.
Chris.
What's that?
You can't see it yet.
We can't see it yet. Oh, okay, sorry.
Please share.
Yeah. What did I do? Oh, share. Here we go. Now you can see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is just a simple cross-section, little sketch I made up of one spot on the dam where the sinkhole, this would be the top of the dam crest where the trail is.
Okay.
And there's a sinkhole there. And as Brian said, I think that these are connected in some fashion. I don't know that there's a whole network of catacombs down there. I think that it's just basically perhaps an old abandoned gopher hole, if you will, or some muskrat or something that dug up in here and created these sinkholes. And I've got a few pictures. There were actually 3 of these holes along the dam that I think should be fixed. This is the big one I just drew the cross section of, the one in the middle, and the cone is at the sinkhole where the sinkhole is. So, like I said, I put an 8-foot pole up there, and sort of in that direction, it just kept going. So, I think that sinkhole is connected to this entry hole here, on the downstream, upstream side of the dam. And these are the risers that we're talking about, and the amount of material that would have to be removed to control. This is really I'm sorry, I can't quite get it in there, but this is a lot of heavy material that's kind of dam material in front of the big riser. And if you look at the little riser, it looks like it's just a bunch of mud, but I think what you'll find is it's chocolate covered dam, right? The mud has been dragged up by the beavers, and it's probably only about 6 inches of mud, and then you get back to the dam material here. This hasn't been a functioning riser this year. We haven't really needed it, so it wasn't cleared. And eventually we want to get this riser functioning as well as this one is, which would remove a lot of this top mud, if you will. But I think what you'll find is that underneath this mud is going to be the heavy duty material in front of the other flashboard risers. But
My proposal wasn't to remove the whole delta, even if it was just a channel, just so that before the water, in your previous picture, before the water goes in through those holes and out and across the dam, just to make some kind of relief, which is so much easier to do right now with low water than it would be.
right,
I just don't want it to go through those holes,
right,
the middle one, and just
right.
rip the dam apart.
No, yeah,
Right.
I get it. I get it. One of the proposal, a counter proposal I'd have here is to sort of sink the sinkhole, right? Is to collapse this hole, just with picks and shovels. It's going to strengthen that part of the dam, so it's not just hollow. It'll bring that down. And it will make the pathway safe, and we could open the pathway up while we get quotes and things like that for the major repair, right? This isn't going to be a permanent repair, but we have 3 known holes in the dam. Then I think if we just get picks and shovels on here, it will collapse pretty easily. So that's a task I think that the friends can do. A few volunteers, we can get over there and collapse the existing holes in those 3 locations just with picks and shovels. Compact that material. We get tampers. We could use hand tampers, or I actually own a plate compactor.
Good for you.
That if you guys, approve me to do that, I think it would be more effective to use a plate compactor. And then just backfill, whatever caves in, then we'll know once it caves in. I mean, it's going to cave in eventually. If we manually cave it in, then we'll know how big the hole was and what the situation is there. So, and really, I didn't want to have a big project to backfill it. I was hoping to use some of that existing material, that's extra downstream, on the upstream side of the dam.
It makes sense.
Sort of mine some of that material and backfill and tamp that down. So it's kind of a simple, proposal. 4-step process is collapse the holes that we know about, compact the holes that, that material that falls in with the compactors, and then sort of backfill again with pick and shovel, no big machines or anything, and then compact whatever we can backfill from that existing material. I'm not going to try to bring in material. I did walk around the bog. I looked at all the stockpiles that, the farmer had around the bog, and I'm not convinced that any of those stockpiles are suitable dam material. So I wasn't going to, propose finding other material. Just use what's there at the bog and fill in whatever is created by the. I may have overdrawn this a little bit. I suppose it makes it look like it's going to be a huge chasm, but whatever it ends up being on the surface is it's replacing the hole that's currently there. And I think if we fill the sinkhole and compact it well enough, then the crest will be safe for people to walk on.
Great idea.
Can DPW
I guess my
give
only
a little assist, with some gravel underneath the material you salvage from the upstream face?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what's required, right? It could be just enough
By itself.
to for the big, there is a major repair coming, so this would
Right.
just be a temporary repair before the major repair comes in. So
Okay.
that's the suggestion.
So we've got a a bid that's going to be going out. I'm not sure when, but there was a document that Megan circulated for the come to look at for the next meeting. And then after that, I'm just worried about doing something that would interfere with the
repair.
repair
Yeah.
that's coming. And I mean, I don't know when it's going to go out to bid, but it could be fairly soon.
Why would this interfere, Sylvia? What do you think?
Well, you know, he wants to put the material there that's in front of the risers, but that
Well-
might not be consistent with the material that has to be placed there for the dam.
Wouldn't they just dig that out when they did the work if they don't like it?
Right.
It's an emergency repair.
You're working on, I repeat, you're working on a dam that's
Right. If we document though
regulated.
where we've done this kind of
Right.
patch, right? They could dig it out, right?
And I know that, I believe they're supposed to put in a cofferdam as well at some point to keep water away from, you know, water away from the part that they're working on. But I don't know how this.
Right, so Sylvia, what if we document really well where the patch is? So when we do the permanent rearmoring and repair of the dam, we we alert them to any places that have transported material. Shouldn't that be enough?
I would check in with Ryan as to how that might affect what's going to be put out to bid. And obviously it should get an emergency cert and have erosion control put in so that it doesn't get erosion into the water, if there is any water. Last time I was out, there was no water in that pond.
Do we know when the water release is coming from Chelmsford?
That's been held up, but Megan can address that. We asked them to please don't send us any water.
So is that indefinite? I mean, can they hold off until we do the full project or not really?
That's what they originally had kind of said, but I need to touch base with them this upcoming week to let them know where we're at and kind of give them a timeline. Because I don't think they're gonna indefinitely wait forever, but I know that they had said they didn't mind waiting until November. But I need to check in with them to see how long into November, because right now it's kind of confusing to me to have, because, okay, let me sum this up. So right now I'm working on proposals for the actual bidding of the project, everything that was permitted. And so at our next meeting, you're all gonna vote on um, a scope of services for that bidding package. So that's one aspect. While I've been involved in that process, I've also been seeking proposals for an emergency repair to occur this fall. And so we have two proposals that Ryan's just consulting with legal counsel on town council to make sure we pick the right one. And so the hope is that we execute that emergency work, in the next several weeks. So then to add another layer of another emergency repair before the permitted work is a little bit confusing for me. And it's like a third layer. But I will say that when I did go out with the dam inspector, oh, was it the dam inspector? Or maybe it was Sumco, which was one of the contractors that I seeked a proposal from. They did recommend in the wintertime to remove some of the sticks and mud just on that surface level and maybe taking out some of the boards to, relieve some of the pressure on the dam this winter. So that was one of their recommendations. And I did end up asking them to include that in their proposal in case they get to it before we have someone out there to do it, and if the commission agreed on that. So that is included in the proposal that they gave us to do that work. But anyways, sorry, that was a lot of information. Hopefully that was clear.
That's a great summary, Megan. So what's the quickest we can get a permitted emergency repair done? That was the second bullet, if you will, of your explanation.
I would assume in the next several weeks.
That like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks? What do you think?
I really don't know because I haven't been through this process before. But it seems like
Just get site visits from the people who are bidding on it, and sit down meetings. It takes a while
So
No,
this
I get
isn't
it.
the,
I'm just wondering,
so this doesn't
vis-a-vis
have to
Chris's
go through
proposal.
the bidding process. Um, because the proposals that we got, there's some other complicated process where the state has already basically gone through the bidding process to vet them. And because the repair is under $50,000, we don't have to go through the bidding process. So once the proposal is signed by Ryan, I th I think the mobilization could happen pretty quick because when I was seeking the proposals, I did ask when they'd be available because this was an urgent matter. So it seems to me that once the proposal is signed, whichever one we pick, then after that it could be fairly quick. But of course, that's all dependent, and that's just my that's my hope.
Oh, right.
In other words, these people that you're bringing on are professionals.
I'm not
But,
seeing a huge downside though to having a temporary patch done by Friends of the Bog to just to make sure we don't regret having taken, quicker action before something
Well,
goes
so
south
I
here.
guess the problem I could see is that the proposals that I have are for um filling in the sinkholes and burrows with, I forget, I think it's like 10% concrete and then some other, compacted subsoil and everything. So if you change the work, they're no longer doing that work. Now they'd be, I don't even know,
So it's one or
regrading
the other. It's
basically.
not both, is what you're saying. Yeah.
So then can we go back to my idea, which is just maybe not take out the whole delta, but just make some relief so that if the water does come up, it's not impeded by all the sticks and stones and mud. And we have a chance that it could choose to go through the flash risers before it goes through these channels.
Well, to Brian's point, what if we ask the folks that are bidding on this, what actions can we take in the interim to avoid some kind of catastrophic failure?
Well, it
Yeah,
sounds
they
like Megan answered
suggested
that.
moving the riser boards in the interim.
Okay, so
Yeah.
anything else that we can do besides removing?
I mean, I grew up with bogs. I would pull some, and Chris did too. I would pull some riser boards and dig out a little channel of mud right in front so that in an emergency, that's going to be the path of least resistance for the water.
Right. I don't think we want to interfere with what the emergency repair people intend to do, but if they can tell us what we can do to help to, mitigate until they commence work, that seems like a good approach, no?
So do we have, I mean, is there a proposal? I mean, you mentioned concrete, but I didn't think that was in the dam repair engineering drawing was, basically an earthen dam. So I'm kind of perplexed by what kind of engineering plan we're using for the emergency
Isn't
repair.
that the stopgap?
That's a
Megan?
good question, actually.
So, to my understanding, the scope of work of the originally permitted dam repair was to fill in the, the burrow or holes in the trail and regrade it and make sure that it was all stabilized, correct?
Right.
It didn't specify
Material.
holes
What
particularly,
did?
but it said, fix flaws, weaknesses in the dam, remove
Yeah.
tree roots, and
So,
armor the upstream face and level.
so I had a dam inspector come to site and let me know what condition the dam was in, kind of informally there. It's not like the, required inspection by ODS, but I asked them to come out to the site and they took a look and, our DPW has been putting gravel into the sinkholes, but it all, of course, doesn't last that long. It gets washed away or lost or whatever. So the really only suggestion that she had is when this happens in earthen dams, the only way you can get that filled material to kind of stay put is to mix a tiny bit of
Agreed.
I believe it's concrete. It's not much. I'd have to look at the detail that she provided. But it seems like that was a standard method that's used on repairing earthen dams. That's my understanding. I'm
Well,
obviously only 3 months into this, and you all have years under your belt, so I could totally be misinterpreted a few things, but that's my interpretation.
well, it sounds reasonable to me. So
Yeah, if
I
that's
don't know
a,
what the
if that's,
alternatives are.
So
yeah, no, if
Susie
that's a
has her hand
common
up
way.
again.
I mean, I'm not sure why the gravel, the DPW would wash away if the hole goes from, you know, upstream face up into the crest of the trail, but
Or it gets pushed back out from the burrow back onto the trail.
I don't know. We aren't seeing stuff on top of the trail, so I don't know where the gravel would go. I suspect more likely is they pour gravel down, but there's like a way longer hole than they thought.
Yeah.
You know,
That too. And I think that's also why that method was recommended, because once you pour that mixture into the hole, it just takes up the whole space and fills it, rather than like tearing up the whole surface of the crust and digging it to find the holes and then filling it. You pour something in and you do less excavation and you impact that area less.
but you're
That's
hoping that it really fills the hole. Like, does the stuff expand or something? Like, why would we think it would make it from one end to the other? I mean, you'd have to pour it.
Gravity.
You'd have to
Gravity.
pour it from the top of the sinkhole and hope it didn't set before it reached the upstream face of the dam, and didn't
Probably.
block the whole part way and leave just a huge
Well, Melissa, concrete doesn't, firm up instantly. You've
All
got
right.
so,
Just asking.
Probably a
Okay.
bit liquid, somewhat loose, and he goes down there and then solidifies it after a while. It's probably
Well,
also
that sounds like a
removable.
magical, a magical,
Yeah.
solution.
It sounds like
Works
there's an
terrific.
effort underway to deal with the current situation, to tide it over until we get somebody in to actually do the whole project. And so it sounds like, doing something
Maybe
without
workable. Wait,
fully taking
Chris,
it
what do you
under
think?
control is not a good idea.
Chris,
Yeah,
what do
I'm
you
just,
think?
I'm just concerned that the time it's going to take to get somebody in to do, having a dam expert look at it is the right thing to do. And if they can do that in short order, I don't see how you can fix this entire hole. You can't really access the whole thing from the sinkhole. You can't really access the whole thing from the other entrance. To me, eventually this is going to have to be collapsed and dug out, or just collapsed anyway. It's about to collapse anyway. And the other concern I have is, I know we have boards up, but I've spent a lot of time over there clearing off the vegetation, and I can tell you about 40% of the people still walk across and just step around this hole that they don't realize how big it actually goes. So,
Understand this whole thing is undermined.
well, it's I wouldn't say the whole thing is undermined. This one hole,
We have 3 big trails here.
yeah, there's 3 holes. And one is not near the water line, one is actually up near the trail.
Yeah.
And to me, that one could be collapsed. It doesn't need structural repair, it just needs to be filled in. That's by the other, the large riser. But the hole actually undermines the trail. So, I'm just thinking ways to get the trail open.
Chris, what if you, this idea of picks and shovels to collapse, from the sinkhole down, just collapse the surface material down into that cavity, and then you pour something on top of it that would be besides what's on the upstream surface of the dam that you might recover. Does it make sense to maybe pour gravel with some of the cement on top of it, or does it?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not that expert. I'm not the guy.
I mean, certainly
You'd
if
be the
it
expert there.
collapses that easily with picks and shovels, it seems like excavating the valley and then filling it would be a better, a little more reliable, I guess.
But Megan already has a solution, we're re-engineering. Megan met with somebody and they recommended something.
Well, it's great as long as the people that are going to do this emergency repair can get at it soon. But if it's going to take them like 2 months, I don't know. That's pretty long. And what if it fails?
Yeah. Can I ask Megan, when you were out there with the dam person, did you go out to the front, to the upstream side and see the hole at the water line?
Yeah, they took pictures, and yeah, there's quite a few of the little burrows or big burrows. Yes.
So is it your sense, Megan, that we could get this done in the next, 5 weeks or something?
I think so. I mean, I think at least mobilizing someone by then seems feasible to me.
So if we can ask the Hard Pond folks, Chelmsford to kind of hold off so we can make this repair, and it's, within the next 5 weeks or so, maybe that's doable. I don't know. What do you think?
Ask.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna definitely give them a call and let them know where we're at. I think my first step will be talking to Ryan and getting a timeline on when he thinks the proposal that we choose will be, or he chooses, will be signed off on. Getting a timeline from whatever contractor that is for when they could mobilize, and reaching out to the man who controls the Heart Pond Dam and seeing if he can hold off until we get a crew out there. But in the meantime, yeah, if you all want to take other measures like, using the outlet structures, then that's fine. Whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
George, Suki's had her hand up for a long time. I don't know if you could recognize her.
Why don't we ask her what she has to say?
Let's.
Thank you, George. So I really back Chris's plan to collapse the holes. They aren't quite as drastic as they do in his depiction, I don't think. But to me, collapsing them will serve to sort of strengthen the dam, because then it'll be filled in, and then if you can put more material from the upstream sides in there, that again, it just helps hold it. And I do agree with maybe taking out a board or two and making a small channel. I wouldn't want to remove all that dirt that's in front of the risers, only because we don't really know what's underneath there, and we might be opening up, more problems. And this does make it safer for all the people walking over it, because, sure, if you poured in some dirt with little cement, that might get, a third of the way down, depending on how the sinkhole is, the line of it, and it still doesn't really, strengthen it, doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
There's still the gap the rest of the way. So I would be more inclined and be willing to help with doing the collapsing part over anything. And certainly if you can get this project started within the next 5 weeks, that would be awesome. Because I think sooner better than later.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree with you, Suki. I think trying to pour something down a channel like this, it's just, I don't think it's going to fill it.
Can I clarify? So that is a method that they will be using, but these are the companies we have are professionals at repairing dams that we've gotten quotes from. So they are professionals at that. They'll be using ground penetrating radar first to see the network of tunnels and burrows to understand kind of the gravity of the situation. And then one method is pouring that mix into the holes. and the
Huh.
other is excavating and backfilling if needed. But it depends on the extent of the burrows, which they can only know from the GPR because we can't see under the ground. So kind of in the same way you'll be compacting, they'll just be using a radar to
But
see.
Megan, we do sort of know that these holes are fairly level because Chris was able to stretch his pole into the burrows and they didn't go up that much. They went up they were across a lot and then up. So we do sort of have a little bit of an idea. And that's
Mhm.
why I don't think the cement part will work that great if you're just pouring it in the sinkhole end.
So they may do the collapsing, is what you're saying, Megan. They may,
Yeah, I
if
guess
they
my
find a
point is
small
that,
hole, they'll fill it. If they find a big hole, they'll collapse it.
yeah. My point is I listed a quote based on what the dam inspector recommended, but the contractors are professionals at repairing dams. So I'm sure whatever method they use, it will stabilize the area.
Well, I think we probably have confidence in their ability, but we're just concerned about timing.
I'm sure that's probably been brought up with them as well, because this is emergency. Um,
Right, but an emergency repair, seems like it should happen soon, not like 2 months from now.
Ideally, yes.
I'm for going with the professionals. And I appreciate all the work that Chris has put into.
But with clearing the risers makes sense, and that's something that's part of Chris's program, right?
Yeah. So I don't have a problem. There's the smaller riser, the 3-foot riser, is something that we want to get back into service. And so, yeah, there's a little clearing there we can do. And board removal. It seems like a long way for the water to come up to get to those boards, but we'll see how it's under the mud over there.
Yeah.
And the larger one, there's not a lot that needs to be, that needs to be cleared as part of the regular maintenance anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was just a thought. I thought it would get the path open sooner. Because I know people are still walking on it.
It shouldn't be. It's closed off.
Well, yeah, I know, but honestly, it's,
I don't know, put tacks along there or something. They shouldn't be going across there.
yeah, and it's hard. It's hard
We
to.
need to get it done.
Yeah.
We need to move on it.
Maybe some tape that says police line, do not cross.
I
We
won't.
can do that too, but we just need to move the repairs along.
Yeah, yeah.
So Megan, how many different techniques have you actually heard from professionals? Are they all offering the same thing?
I mean, I think essentially, right, I think there's only so many ways to do it. So yeah, the backfilling, but the pouring of the mix was one
Concrete,
that I hadn't heard of, but it makes sense. But yeah, I think those two methods are kind of the two.
Was there a big cost differential between the two as far as we know, or maybe we don't know yet?
I elicited proposals for basically either or, depending on the extent and the call that they make on site. So I'm not really sure what the cost difference is.
Okay. So at this point, I think we have to wait until we get some estimates from professionals. And Sylvia, I agree with you. I would trust professionals.
I worry
So
about two different entities coming in at different directions and one not knowing what the other's doing. It's not great way to approach something like this.
So can we go back to the beginning? Do we want to take any effort at all to clear the risers a little bit, just in case we have a catastrophic rain?
I think clearing the risers is a really good idea.
I would agree with that.
Removing boards. Sylvia, what do you think?
I would agree with doing some of, a little bit of clearing there. I think it's grown up a lot in the past few years. And, but you got to be very careful you don't get a lot of mud and debris going through the riser and going downstream.
Well,
Well, it sounds like we want
problem right
to
now.
double a channel.
Yeah, to clear a channel so that water can get through there. I don't
Right.
think that that would be opposed to, you know, the repair of the dam or anything personally. But
Yeah.
Well, you
mean-
remember what 2011 looked like. I just don't want that to happen again.
absolutely.
I keep hearing about 2011,
Yeah.
but I've never seen it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't pretty.
Okay.
Oh, we can provide you with some photos.
I'd be curious. Anyway. Okay.
We can
So
do that.
anyway, it's time for us to move on from this.
So do we need to vote on anything, George?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
You might
I
as
don't.
well just make a vote. Might as well, right?
So George, I make a motion to either ask the Friends of the Bog or the DPW or some emergency repair company to open up a channel into the risers just so that in the event we have a catastrophic, foot of water,
Well, you know,
that it has a place to go. It can't hurt.
I think that's the minimum we should be doing right now, but I agree with
Absolutely.
you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Sounds like Melissa. So we'll take a roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
is Nick still here?
Yes.
And he is. Sure
Aye.
enough. Brian,
Aye.
Sylvia,
All right.
did Dan ever show up?
No.
I didn't think so. Chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you.
Chris can't vote, sorry.
No, I mean, so I mean, that's fine. I think that's respect the board's decision, and we can go over there and clear out, see what's under the mud and get the mud away from the front of the riser. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
Also,
thank you for your work on that. Really, I know it's
Thank
hard.
you, Chris.
yeah, the other thing is, I think we should use some volunteer work to get the rest of the bog cleared off, so that if we're bringing people in to do emergency repairs, they can inspect the rest of it.
Mhm.
The rest of the dam, not the rest
The rest of the dam. I'd say
You
the
mean
bog.
mow the rest of it?
Yeah. And the other thing I would just ask Megan is, if Chelmsford is going to lower Hart Pond, we can work with Chelmsford to pull boards from the riser in Chelmsford and direct that water into the Fisk Street side. So if you can just coordinate with me, we can get the person in Chelmsford who controls that riser. We can get that water to run to Fisk Street side, and it wouldn't overwhelm the Martin Street side.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, great idea.
I didn't know that was an option. Awesome.
Yeah, there's risers. There's a riser over in Chelmsford in their dam number 1, that feeds the Fisk Street pond.
Megan, I'll
So-
take you there.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the time.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
always
wonderful
looking for
idea.
you to walk.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Chris.
thanks, Chris. All right, who wants to vote on rubbish? Nobody. Gee,
I
what a
do.
spread.
I can't wait.
All right,
I make a motion that we approve the Carlisle rubbish for $60.
there you go. So
Second.
we have 3. Sounds good. I'm gonna do all these together, please.
I have one
Oh.
question.
Pardon?
One question is, what was the Weston and Sampson bill for?
It was for the Greeno H&H study.
Is that for the completion?
No.
Because I'm disappointed they didn't ask me, and they were supposed to, I have about 25 readings that were both for the Greeno Dam and at the Maple Street. And it was.
I don't think they're done. I think they still might need that. I'll have to
They
check
haven't
in with
asked for
them.
it, and I need to sort of put it together. But I wasn't going to put it together if they weren't going to ask for it. So. you can
Okay,
find
yeah,
them.
let me check in on that because I think they still need those
Okay, 'cause
that data, but
they haven't
let me check.
asked.
It can't hurt to give them the
Oh,
data.
It's readings simultaneously between the Maple Street Bridge and Greeno Dam.
Okay.
Anyway, going back to the bills, I'd like to do all 4 bills in one motion.
So a motion for the registry of deeds for $105.
$5, Weston and Sampson for $9,060, and Dog Waste Depot for $139.98.
That's not on my agenda.
It's on mine.
It's on mine.
Online.
Did the wrong one, but I did ask for the poop bag, so. And in the future, I don't want to fight over poop, but do you want those to be an LSC line item or keep them in Conscom?
Well, right now it says from the LSC budget is what it
Okay.
says for the dog waste,
Okay,
right? Along with the Carlisle rubbish, $60 is also from your budget.
okay.
All
As
right.
opposed to the 105 and the 9,000. Okay.
105 and the 139.98. So the 9,000 comes from the Greeno H&H. It's for the Greeno H&H study.
Yeah.
And then general fund is doing the Mass Registry of Deeds according to Megan's red lines. Do you have Megan's red line agenda?
I love the red lines. It's so much.
Me too. Do you
It's like-
have this
It's
one?
it's like Cliff Notes.
All right, can I get a
try.
motion to approve all 4 bills, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Megan, I thought we were supposed to have
So
a
Ryan,
request for an extension. I'm sorry, we'll vote on that first.
what?
Nothing.
Vote on what.
Okay, all right. So I need a roll call vote to pay the bills here. Nick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
the chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, the only last thing I have in here
Well,
is
Sylvia had
minutes.
some extension question.
Yeah, there was supposed to have been something on here, an extension for
We were gonna put that on the next meeting.
on the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got moved off.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
All right, minutes from
Wait,
9:25.
you're talking about the town project, right, Sylvia?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure I understood
Yeah.
before I dismiss that. Okay.
Can we do the
You all
minutes
set
next time?
there? Say again, Sylvia?
Can we do the minutes the next time?
Oh, yeah, the
Well,
minutes.
This is really easy. I gave them my comments and there was
And I
only
gave her
one
mine.
error.
And I gave
Yay.
mine.
I'm ready to vote on the minutes.
Motion
Me
to
too.
accept the minutes.
Can I have a
Second.
motion to accept the minutes? Sounds like Brian and
Second.
Melissa.
Sylvia's got her hand up too.
Who does?
I'm
Miss Willard.
Sylvia. Okay, well, I'll take all 3 of you. So we'll have a roll call vote and then we can go home. Let's see, Nick,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
the chair votes aye, the motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for a very
Wait,
productive evening.
excuse me. I'm
No,
so
sorry,
sorry.
I'm
I
not
really-
going to excuse you. Go
I
ahead.
don't want to do this to you all, but one more thing. I did issue an emergency order today for removal of the
With the
beaver
de-
lodge.
Right.
So I let George know earlier today, but of course, just kind of to ratify this action. So this has all already been laid out in the beaver management plan. It's part of this whole process. So first we had to get the beavers trapped. Once the beavers were trapped, we have to get the lodge removed. And in order to remove the lodge, we have to issue this emergency certificate because it's in wetland jurisdiction. So I got Board of Health to sign off on it as the agency that,
right.
ordered the work to be performed. And we have 30 days to do the work. The work was actually already done today. That's my signature. These are my conditions, not to throw the debris in the wetland. And maybe I can share a picture of.
So the beaver can
gone.
feel this?
Yes, this is obviously all the debris. It's on a tarp. I've coordinated with DPW to help remove that off site. And then once that's removed, I will open I guess, the bottom part of the trail because I just closed off the whole thing. Not that anyone's following the closure signs, so.
All right.
But
Looks like
that's
there's
the
a hole.
Do you need a motion to accept that document for us to sign it or allow you?
You don't have to sign it, but it would be nice if you could make a motion to, I guess, ratify it, if that's the right word.
I guess I make a motion to ratify the removal of the Beaver Lodge. May they rest in peace.
Second.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Who's left here? Anyway. So Brian,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Sylvia,
I
Melissa, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Yeah, Melissa.
Yes,
The chair
I,
votes aye. We approve of your swift eradication of the lodge.
and we give our thanks and RIP Little Beavers.
Yes,
You
definitely.
know, nobody wants to kill them.
Well, we're sorry they're not there anymore, but not really.
Yeah.
All right, ladies
Motion
and
to
gentlemen,
adjourn?
can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Nick?
Second.
Oh, probably left already. Brian?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Sylvia?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
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 Thank you.
Thank
Hey.
you, Noel. Thank you.
Rupert.